again, friends. And you are our friends. That's the only reason we're doing this today, because we're all friends. And welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru. We're tired. It's another day. Probably not a lot of classic wrestling content today, but we got the big reviews that everyone's been waiting for. I'm your host, the great Brian Last, and here he is, the big reviewer that everyone's been waiting for.
Yeah.
Mr. Jim Cornette.
I'm glad you're so optimistic, Brian. You know what you should have played on your organ there? Instead of your normal boppy, bippy, tipsy theme, you should have played Funeral March of a Marionette. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. No.
Because that's more the way with you and I both feel. Because as we were just commiserating after this, and folks, the show is going to be done in a couple pieces because they went crazy this weekend, the big companies, the big titans, the big two, and they just decided to just show everything in the world. And we didn't watch all of it. And we'll talk about that here in a second why we didn't. And if you don't like it, but I didn't want to, and I think I've already said this, but it won't be till later in the program. I didn't want to go at a Saturday night's main event, which I knew one way or the other was only going to be 2 hours with a bad attitude on life. And there was no way that I was going to watch however many hours of AEW, we'll get to that, without the ability to fast forward through something or my brain would be numb. And so I started early Sunday morning and watched the Saturday night's main event. And then we recorded about that to get that in the editing and YouTube pipeline and all that stuff. While that I then watched another 60, 70 fucking hours of wrestling. And so now this is early the following day so that we can finish this up and get this all out to everybody, because I swear to God, I'm not sure that all the shows have ended yet. Are you? Is everything over?
Right now, I think everything's over. I did watch Women's Evolution 2, I guess, technically, last night from Atlanta for a packed house, a packed heart of women.
I was still finishing up Texas while you were watching the women.
Yeah, you were surprised. I guess we'll say this right now. You were surprised when I told you that, like, when Saturday night's main event started, AEW still hadn't even gone to the Moxley match.
And, you know, I don't know how they're doing it these days. But we in the business, when I did pay-per-views with, obviously, WCW was the early years of pay-per-view, but with the WWF, later to become E, you had a set window for your pay-per-view because of the satellite time. And Vince used to bitch because you paid for every hour of the satellite time. So that's why in those days, WrestleMania would be 4 hours if another one was 3. You see what I'm saying? But only the big ones ever went over the hour window. They were the under 2, under 3, under 4, whatever, you see. And he would go crazy. No, we haven't got it. But also the pay-per-view channel schedules. They are scheduled 24 hours a day with programming. How do these people just goddamn say, I'm just going to go into the other guy's show to fuck with him, even if it does make my show run 6 hours and 15 minutes or whatever? But we'll get to the mechanics of that. But, you know, here's the thing. I just got to say this at the top of the program. Both companies, they're going to counter program themselves into limbo. If they don't, with the WWE, it was just about blowing up everything all weekend, right? And they had the building rented. Why the fuck not? And we'll fuck with the fucking billionaire boy child and his show in Texas. But how do the WWE fans in 2 days have time to watch that much programming of any kind? That's a question.
I don't have an answer for you. I didn't watch the Great American Bash. I didn't really have any interest in watching it. I watched the Female Evolution. I watched the Saturday Night's Main Event after the fact, although I saw the second half of the show live. And I watched AEW from like 1 o'clock in the afternoon on. It was a long
But I mean,
day.
that's the thing. Even for a WWE fan that wasn't even going to watch AEW anyway, you got 2 hours on NBC. You've got the 3 hours of NXT. You have 3 hours of the pay-per-view of the female roster, the women's evolution. And then there's people going on, oh, you didn't watch that. Well, no shit.
You didn't watch Supercard.
I got to go to sleep. Oh, that's right. Wait a minute. We didn't think, we're just thinking about.
You didn't think about Friday.
Fucking Tony's goddamn deal. Friday, he did Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor for probably, who knows, 4 or 5 hours, wherever they're showing slides of it on the wall of a barn in Wartburg. And then the hours upon hours. And then people get mad if we don't watch fucking something. Jesus Christ, like I said, I'm an old man. I need sleep. But what they're going to do, the WWE, and we'll see this as we talk about the 2 programs, they've got the one-on-one matchups you want to see with the recognized stars, with the logical booking, with the guys that can work and they're not stuntmen at the top of the card. And you barely see any of it. They give you all that shit. You sit down to see it. They get 2 minutes to break. Come back. Here we go. And you got to watch a lot of their program to get you just a little bit of the wrestling. And they're going to make it with these shows everywhere. They were Raw and SmackDown and NXT and the pay-per-view of this and the special card of that. That you can just miss any of this shit because goddamn, unless they're going to let you subscribe to a highlight reel of everything somehow for an extra monthly fee, where you can watch all the good shit from the week in an hour and a half. You know, it's like, But then AEW, what else is AEW going to do, Brian? We've had blood drinking. We've had a flamethrower. We've had spikes in the back. No move hurts anybody. No amount of blood is too much. They're doing hospitalization angles over on the side of the ring while the fucking main event match is still going on, and it never ends. And you can't get away from the goddamn wrestling, alleged wrestling. It's just chaos and carnage and mayhem and goofy fucking children flipping about, as Adrian Street would say. And so how do they follow any of this shit? They got the opposite problem. They give us so much shit, I don't care if I ever see any more of that shit ever again. What the fuck is the matter with all these people?
Again, there's a lot of questions you're asking that I don't have a direct answer for, but there was a lot of wrestling.
Have I said anything you disagree with?
There's a lot of wrestling. There was a lot of wrestling over the past few days. On top of editing and recording, it was just a lot of wrestling. Some good.
Well, and I don't.
That was special cat.
I don't mean to be bad, but right. Also, we were speaking just before we went on the air here for the people. Like you say, you are our friends. You are my cult, or we would be doing that. That we are just both of us lethargic and colic in our fucking outlook here today. And I think, you've heard of long COVID. I think I got long AEW. Energy level low, just a lack of ability to want to continue living. But we're going to try, folks, today here. I got good news for you, just real quick before we get into all the bullshit.
You're getting out of showbiz.
No, apparently I've never been in showbiz. If this is showbiz, I got a whole family now. The whole family of deer have moved into Castle Cornette's estate here. Because Stacey and I were looking out the back the night before last, I think. We saw Mama, and then we saw the two little ones. And now Daddy has showed up. Old Papa Deer with the big antlers. He's got like 7 of those things sticking up on his antlers. And they're, as a family, they're grazing in the backyard where I put the deer food down under the redbud and over on the ash tree. And they're lolling in the sun and taking advantage of our spa facilities here. And of course, as you know, at Castle Cornette, all species are welcome except humans. And they're just a cute. I was taking pictures out the back window. And Stace put out some peanuts for the squirrels. And now they're just lollygagging around and everything. And we got the bird feeders full. And it looks like, again, a Disney cartoon. If it wasn't so dadgum hot and humid, we'd go out and sit and watch them in person. But we're staring out the window because it's a dew point 74. But we got that going for us, Brian.
Yeah, ticks and dew point here on the Drive Thru.
Well, what would you like to look out the back window of your house at and see playing, or not wildlife playing around in the wilderness there and frolicking to and fro? What do you want to see? A fucking supermarket go up in your backyard?
There has to be a happy in between just endless wildlife, which is kind of what I have now, and the supermarket.
Well, if you have endless wildlife, you never let us in on your little
what are you talking about,
furry
bears?
Family.
I got bears. I got deer.
Oh, yeah.
I got, what else? Bobcats down the street. Still terrified of that. There are foxes.
I didn't think she was still in the business.
There are foxes. There are coyotes. She started for Dennis. There are foxes. There are coyotes or coyotes, depending on if you're
well.
Old
See, you
here.
See, that's the thing is I have
chipmunks. We got a woodpecker now, fucking terrorizing us.
You got that woodpecker, huh? See, I got friendly deer that walk right around and don't run away from you and graze, and I've got cheery squirrels and cute little chipmunks. You've got bobcats and wolverines and coyotes. Must be something about the fucking climate in New Jersey. Everybody's got a bad attitude.
All right, well, that was a transition there. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you need to have a good attitude, potentially you can get one by visiting Cornette's Collectibles at jimcornette.com.
Well, yes, you can, as a matter of fact. And there is no waiting. You don't have to stand in line at your own computer or telephonic device, but you can go to jimcornette.com right now, click on Collectibles, and Hotchkiss Featherbottom is standing by. And we do have the new rookie year photos that we have found of me in the vault. The limited number are on sale now, as well as, I think I plugged it probably on the last show. So the lazy booking shirts are half price, but there was only like 8 of them and they're probably gone. But if you want to get one for half price, look around. And otherwise, jimcornette.com. And Brian, let's give him a programming note. Before, again, another happy thing.
Yeah, programming
next
note.
Week's,
due to this show, don't be surprised if we get 6 hours against the program next week to make up for it.
No, that's the thing. Next week, we're going to have a special all-fun program where we don't do any reviews, and we do guess the program, and we do from my files, and we talk about some history because we're going to tape that. And I am upcoming doing something that I haven't done in years, and that's actually do something that I want to do just for fun instead of for some business purpose. And I'm also, the other thing that I haven't done in 6 years is I'm actually going to leave town to do it. So next week, you get a nice, fun program while I'll be having my nice, fun.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know, vacation. It's not I will have more on that when I get back. It's not really a vacation. It's a trip of fun,
of leisure
in a hobby instead of business fashion.
Yeah, so if you're at the Mitchell Brothers Theater and you hear some guy moaning behind you, it's probably Jim.
Yeah,
probably
stop
Jim.
it. Why would you talk that? Well, they closed that place down, I'm sure, long ago. I'll check though. But no, I'm actually.
This guy really loves Vanessa Del Rio.
Well, is she still around? Well, you never hear of her anymore. Nevertheless, I'm going to take a nice little trip, and not far and not long, but we'll have a nice, fun show next week while I'm gone.
He's going to San Francisco, folks. He doesn't want to say it out loud.
I am not going. What now? See, they're not going to believe that anyway, and then you just keep.
Okay.
I'm going to the next state over. Is where I'm going. That I can take Black Beauty to and get there and back in an appropriate period of time.
All right. At JimCornette.com.
I don't want to tell anybody right now because I goddamn don't want anybody to show up while I'm there. But when I come back, I'll tell you all about it.
That's what's going to happen. That's my guess before you say anything when you come back, is that it's going to be unexpected. Oh, this person's here. Oh, and this person's here. What's this?
No, this is a tightly controlled group of like-minded individuals who are on the same page as far as who is in the fucking circle of trust and who is not.
All right. Once again, JimCornette.com for all your fine merch. Get those autographs
and as a matter of fact, now hold on now. We will have the details on this trip on the following. Hold on. The experience.
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. When is that?
The experience, not this coming experience, but the following experience will have the details. So you got to listen, folks, every week just to get everything. We'll have details on a trip then.
That's right. And we'll move forward now. We're going to time travel in a moment and go to the review of Saturday night's main event because Jim watched that first. I just want to make a quick, you brought up programming updates. We've heard from several listeners who've had issues downloading or streaming or even having the show arrive on Pocket Casts. That's not our issue. That's some sort of bizarre issue on their end. Apparently the show that was released a few days ago just went up this morning for those people. Maybe look into another podcast catcher, another podcast service. But for everyone wondering what was going on, that was out of our control. We looked into it. That was a...
Now, what are these people's names?
Pocket Casts.
Pocket Cast. Apparently, they've got their hands in their pockets playing pocket pool instead of providing our programming for our people.
Try Podcast Addict. That seems to work well for others. But Jim, on that note, let's travel through time and let's go to Saturday night's main event. We'll be back on the other side. All right, we are in the future, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Me and my mute friend, there he is. Hello again, everybody.
Well, I was waiting for you to say something of any consequence so that I could respond to it because my ears were still ringing from the twanging, although that encapsulates my mood. Brian, I don't know where we are. I don't know what we may have said. We've time traveled. We may have not said it yet, but we're going to say it. And if you haven't already seen, you will see. But we are in the middle of this chaotic weekend of wrestling, too much wrestling from everybody. We're going to be talking all about it if we haven't already talked about it. And I could give two shits and a French fried you-know-what if I ever see any goddamn wrestling again. How about that? Let me just say that at the top of the program. I think I would rather watch highlights of major historical personalities' funerals than watch any more wrestling right now.
Obviously, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, not all of Mercedes Moné's fans are taking this well, but we have a lot to talk about. Eventually, we'll have AEW All In Texas, which Jim is certainly likely to enjoy. But before we get there, WWE said, hey, AEW's got to get attention. Let's try to ruin their day, and presented a day of programming as a part of a weekend of programming. We did not watch the NXT Great American Bash for anyone who's...
Yeah, and anybody who's mad about that can kiss my big fat white ass.
Well, to be fair, you've lost a lot of weight.
All right, then, formerly big fat white ass.
And of course,
because well, wait a minute. Now NXT, it was a pay-per-view event or a premium live event or whatever it was. It was 3 hours long, I'm sure, right? 2 or 3.
I would guess, yes.
And the Saturday night's main event, that's the main event. That's the big show on network television with the big stars, the big time, the big boys. That was 2 hours. The women's pay-per-view, I'm sure they get 3 hours of their own. So now we're up to 8 hours, and then the lone AEW program of the weekend decides, hey, we'll just do 8 hours all by ourselves. So if anybody is complaining because I, at my advanced age and current bank balance, didn't feel the goddamn need to watch every bit of that 16 hours of wrestling, below me.
Well, that was the review of the NXT Great American Bash. And of course,
and the women's pay-per-view.
Well, that hasn't happened yet. That was your review of the women's pay-per-view.
Well, no, we were time traveling. I don't know.
Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky.
Well, now that what platform is that on? How could I just see that without having to see anything else?
I believe it would be on Peacock.
So you mean I have to watch the cock to see Rhea Ripley?
That's right. Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus.
Well, we'll see what happens. But you know what I watched first, because I didn't want to have such a bad taste in my mouth and be in such a poor frame of mind that I wouldn't want to see anything, even if it was good. I watched the major network television production. It was only 2 hours with commercials. Because I am a senior citizen. I'm, not sure about watching these 3-4 hour programs. That's a large chunk of my remaining time. But for 2 hours, being able to skip through commercials, courtesy of DVR, you can see Saturday night's main event, and you can see the big stars, and you can see the network television production and Goldberg's final match. I figure, what can possibly go wrong? And we'll talk about what went wrong. But at least it was quick. I can't say painless, not for everybody, but at least it was quick. Brad, where do we start? At the beginning?
At the beginning, which they did the same intro they've been doing for the last several, where it's like a retro theme into the modern day.
Which you remember first time I said, hey, that's cool. Second time I said, I like that thing. And I'm like, they're doing it again.
I'm picking the thing apart. I can't not do that. I'm like, yeah, Shawn Michaels wasn't on the original. That was on Fox. You can't count that. But they did that. Then they went to what they've been doing for the Open Every show, Joe Tessitore and Jesse the Body Ventura. Last time Jesse was on the event, the show.
Yes.
He did commentary. Shat all over the fucking finish of the cage match. I was dying to see how they used him this time.
Well, and he didn't do commentary this time, funnily enough. Jesse, I mean, actually, to be honest, it wasn't their fault, because the real Jesse Ventura, his plane was delayed. They had to have the crypt keeper stand in, doing the voice. He looks like he's dehydrated. And I'm not talking about needs a drink of water. I'm talking about like desiccated. Like when you put something in one of those things that is that a natural mummification process, Brian? What?
I didn't expect you to ask if it was natural mummification.
I'm trying to get your scientific input on this. Now, I'm sure you've,
of course,
read something about this in the science journals.
Governor Tut.
Governor Tut is at ringside now to present. No, he did the stand up as normal, and it was probably about how long he can stand up. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't think we ever saw or heard from Jesse Ventura ever again. Did we?
I don't think so.
Because I do skip commercials now. Did I skip some little 30 seconds in the middle where they say, "Hey, Jesse, what's for supper?" or something like that? But I didn't see him again.
I don't remember seeing him again. Now, again, things did change apparently on the fly on the show due to the injury, which raises a lot of questions about how long that was going to go, how long Goldberg versus Gunther was going to go. Maybe Jesse would have figured into a part right there, and they said we have to cut that out.
Well,
and no commentary.
It would be hard to figure why what happened would affect the announce teams that were planned, but nevertheless, they got a contract, right? With Jesse.
But they got a Legends deal too, I think, right?
Well, yes, we got the deal with Jesse, and Jesse could be litigious if we don't honor our commitments. So he's on Saturday night's main event. But I didn't think the commentary on the case that everybody poo-pooed last time when I said they got to be out of their mind in the truck. They're like, "Oh, it's the best part of the show. It's Jesse." All the people on Twitter, that is. I think the people in the truck won.
They should have put him out there for like the Jimmy Uso versus Solo match. Why not?
I'm not sure what he could have.
What could he have said to ruin that? Nothing.
Well, are you insinuating because it was already bad enough to begin with, or?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I mean, of all the matches that, when you rank the importance of things on the show, setting up the celebrity angle, Seth Rollins versus LA Knight, and apparently there was some other plan for that. The main event, the retirement of Goldberg, who never had a single match called by Jesse Ventura. I think that's the match that would have been the candidate.
I'm pretty sure they're content to let Jesse do the stand-up with Joe Tessitore at the start and then get him back to oxygen as quickly as possible. A lot of people are getting too old, including me. I'm too old for this shit. I'm not even doing it.
Jesse still does the thing he always did. And it's amazing he got away with it. I mean, he was so good. Where he mouths the words the other person is saying as they're saying them. So you just start watching Jesse. You're like, Jesse's like, he knows what this other person's going to say the entire time. Sometimes it's teleprompter, but sometimes it's just Jesse like figuring out what the other person's saying.
Yeah, it's like he should be one of the interpreters. If he could just do that, if somebody was speaking another language and say it at the same time, he could have got a job with Steve Stack on Southwest Wrestling.
It makes it look like he's a ventriloquist and he's like trying not to talk, but he's actually saying the exact same words that the dummy's saying. Not to call Joe Tessitore dumb.
Well, I was going to say.
He's just dressed like one.
Should we talk about the show? Because, I mean, where else can you start here on the WWE program with Randy Orton making his entrance with Jelly Roll? Jelly Roll, who was on SmackDown just the night before performing whatever it is that he performs, when he was disrupted and enraptured by Logan Paul, who stopped his concert, and then Randy Orton had to yell at Logan Paul, but then Drew McIntyre Claymore kicked Randy Orton, and then Logan Paul beat Orton up, but Jelly Roll rolled right in there to save the day and pulled Logan Paul off of Randy Orton. It has come to this that not only are we talking about a guy named Jelly Roll, but that he is the guy that saved Randy Orton from Logan Paul.
And a lot less jelly. He used to be really, really big and fat. Now he's, just kind of big and fat, but he's lost a ton of weight, so some of the imposing nature of the Jelly Roll, it's like the jelly's been sucked out.
Well, yeah, it's like it's sugar-free jelly. There's something there, but it doesn't really have any fucking oomph. At least when he was 500 pounds, you think, get 3 steps of momentum going for a guy, and you got 500 pounds of just fucking mass coming at you. He could do something, even if he was just a big fat piece of shit, which you would be if you were 500 pounds.
He's out there dressed like John Popper. Seriously, Logan Paul should just rip his shirt off. That should be the move. Like, I'm not even going to try to fight you. I'm just going to expose you. And just
No. If they bleep fuck, they'll censor that.
Well, we're not even talking about the match yet. We had a match to talk about.
Orton comes out with Jelly Roll and Drew comes out with Logan Paul. So Drew versus Orton. Drew's backup is Logan Paul, and Randy Orton's is Grammy nominated or award-winning singer or whatever the fuck he's done. Jelly Roll, who's a formerly giant, Martin the Blimp Levy level fat fuck, but is now just a regular fat fuck that you see walking around the streets. So this is what we are come up against with the AEW versus WWE weekend. The complete opposites. And sometimes you're embarrassed to be a wrestling fan and watch either one of them. The AEW matches never end. And the guys, in a lot of cases, aren't even professional. The WWE guys are professional. And you barely see any of the fucking match. In AEW, nothing can beat anybody. And in the WWE, fat fucking singers can beat up the wrestlers.
That's the best way to get booked well, is to sing. If you're a singer, you get pushed in the main event right away.
Oh, and I forgot. And in the WWE, the singers interrupt the wrestling. And in AEW, the best part of the fucking show is the singers interrupting the wrestling. But anyway, they got in a fight, did Drew and Randy, and went back and forth, some action, couple desk drops by McIntyre on Orton, and Orton's selling the back, and they go to the break in 2 minutes. Jesus Christ, network TV is made it. So they come back. Randy sells the back. My thought is that Jelly Roll better be glad he can sing, if he can sing. With the facial tattoos, his other career options may be limited. And then Randy makes a comeback, drops Drew on the desk, hits the draping DDT, calls for the RKO. Logan Paul distracts him, and Drew claymores him 2 count foot on the ropes. Holy shit. And then Logan Paul and Roll start arguing and shoving each other. And Drew tells Roll, well, just bring your, see, it's about Drew here. Just bring your fat ass on in the ring and I'll handle you, me pretty. I don't know how the fuck to do that accent. And Roll won't roll. He won't come. So then Drew goes around to pick up Orton, and Orton RKOs him 1, 2, 3. It was 9 minutes with the break. So it was okay for what it was, but there wasn't much of it. And then Logan Paul gets on Orton and starts getting heat on him. And here comes Roll. And he pulls Logan Paul off, and they get nose to nose. And Roll hits him with a forearm, sort of, somewhere around there. And Logan Paul went down and rolled out. And then as Roll was checking on Orton, Drew Claymore kicked Roll and talked to him quite dismissively. And then all the officials and the referees came out, and we left with Orton worried about Roll. But before we get to the big reveal, the big announcement that they made. Do you have any comments so far, Brian, on this tomfoolery?
I think everyone figured the announcement they were going to make before they made it, and then they made the announcement Tony Khan style, just like minutes later in the middle of the show. Hey, this all of a sudden has been announced for SummerSlam. And this is TKO's wet dream, this match. Oh, we got a celebrity here, and we got a celebrity here. And Jelly Roll is still like, if you watch like anything like outside of wrestling media in the real world, they fawn over him. Like every network, they fawn over this fucking guy. So eventually that's going to run out, but he's running with his moment, and he's a big wrestling fan, and that's what it takes right now. If you are a celebrity and a big wrestling fan, hang out a little bit, get to know some people, eventually get to know Paul, and then impress him. Talk to him about how much you love the business. Really kiss some ass. Even you can main event WrestleMania.
And Roll may be a nice guy. And I'm sure he's a big fan, and I hope he's being very respectful. But Jesus, I could even understand, the Dennis Rodman thing. It's a professional athlete. The celebrity crossover, Lawler and Kaufman, everybody's tried to emulate since, but these are two main event fucking guys against Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. And I mean, is this any better than Jay Leno? At least Leno was in shape back then. He could be a manager. He could be in the, but anyway, so that's at SummerSlam. So we got that to look forward to.
Is that just a match, or was that one of the main events? Is it just a match?
Well, I hope it's just a match. I can't imagine it's one of the main events unless there's a massive bus accident involving major WWE talent between now and then. Would that be the main event?
I said a main event, not the main event.
One of the, 2 nights, one of the main events of either night. Where is Jelly? What name me Jelly Roll's biggest hit, Brian?
I'm not the person for that. I'm not a fan of a lot of things right now. And
I'm not a fan of a lot of people.
The modern morphing and destruction of country music into glam nonsense, and then you incorporate other genres. It's just everything to me sounds synthetic and shitty and auto-tuned. And I don't need to hear any more sad sack fucking shit. I don't care what kind of rhyme form it's in. I want to hear something that fucking feels good and rocks. But fuck. That's that. No, I don't know this guy's fucking music. Fuck his music.
Well, but his genre is allegedly the new thing they call country.
It's country. I think he did hip hop, or I shouldn't say hip hop, rap. And that's everything now. Country and rap put together. Fucking ruining music.
Crap. Country and rap. Crap. So Jelly Roll's genre is crap, but he's on top of the charts when it comes to the crap fans.
I think they even introduced a new category now at the Grammys. It was what was it? Best traditional country music. Because country music now is just glam pop. Just terrible. Terrible.
I never liked country music anyway because it was very disrespectful to bluegrass. Too show busy. Anyway, they had stars in the crowd, Brian, including Jade Cargill, who was there and just sitting in the front row with some of the other top talent just so that they could be photographed. And thing is, they're sitting in the same seat because you always see the same fucking people sitting next to them. So they must either have bladder control issues, all these stars, or just not want to see the rest of the show. But as Jade is at ringside, Naomi came from behind her and beat the shit out of her. And then Jade fought back, and the security and the referees had a big pull apart. And Nick Aldis said, "All right, I've had enough here. I was going to do this in front of you in the office like professionals instead of out here in public. But since you've gone this far, he then brings out she was just standing back there, never dreamed that this was going to happen. And they had the music queued up. The special referee for their pay-per-view match on Evolution is Bianca Belair, who came out in a dress apparently she had worn to the Grammy Awards. Is that the
no skipping,
fanciest referee outfit you've ever seen in your life?
Maybe so, but no skipping, no dancing, all the things you always say you're sick of.
Well, no, because she couldn't skip and dance in that fucking thing. It would have fallen apart. She was barely able to fucking move.
You see the way Naomi and Jade were slugging each other?
Well, yeah, I don't know whether it's that they and the Naomi diving on everybody almost killed like 4 people. I don't know whether it's that they legitimately don't like each other or they just don't know how to fucking work.
I enjoy it. Watching those two just beat the shit out of each other, I enjoy the fuck out of it. It's like Queen Amanada and Tekla. Something's going on here. What the fuck? Are they shooting? Are they not shooting? Are they friends? Do they hate each other? But they were laying it in. I liked it.
I'm thinking it's more in the I'm not sure they either one know how to work category, but nevertheless. So Bianca will be the referee, and hopefully she won't be wearing that ball gown that she was in.
Now, come on, you got to watch that match, don't you?
No.
Whose side will Bianca take? Will there be a turn?
I think if Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk were in the main event tomorrow night at the Louisville Gardens, I wouldn't want to see any more wrestling.
Now, why would they be in the main event on a Monday night in Louisville?
Well, you don't know whether that's tomorrow or not when other people are listening to this. I'm just saying tomorrow night, which would be enough time for me to fucking hear about it and get tickets and go. So then for the U.S. title, Jimmy Uso versus Solo with JC Mateo, Tama Tonga, and Taller Tonga. And this one they didn't show a lot of, but to be honest, I wasn't broke up about that because to me, they're too similar. They've got the same style and they also have the same drawbacks and bad habits. The punches you can see through with the open hand, the head palm shoot offs, the timing issues, neither one of them is smooth as baby oil, so to speak. They worked hard, but it's like watching the same guy work with the same guy. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, they are brothers.
Well, yes, but so were Dory and Terry. And could you find two more different people? They don't have a good smooth match with each other because if either or the other one is in the ring with another guy who's a little bit smoother worker, it works out better. But together, But they got a couple of 2 counts. People like Uso. The people don't like Solo. Solo hit a rock bottom. Uso hit a couple of super kicks. Solo rolled to the floor, and then Uso dove on all 3 of them, and the audio was muted forever. Did you, or was it just my cable system, or was that a network thing?
No, it happened twice yesterday. It happened there, and then it happened on the AEW pay-per-view. Every time they went to like the Kevin Hart DraftKings commercial, it went mute.
But this was just, there was no sound. I don't know what anybody could have been saying, but it was NBC, so they got different standards. So then Taller Tonga tries to come and attack Uso on the floor in front of the referee, but even though he's tried, because he didn't actually connect, the referee just stands there and looks stupid. So they've got that rule now. But Uso kicked him, and then Solo schoolboyed Uso from behind, and as he was on top of him, Taller stuck his leg in and braced him 1, 2, 3. So Taller came in and leveled Uso, and they got heat on him, and Solo spiked him. And then here came Jacob. And he made a comeback on the Stooges and fought with Taller and dove on everybody, and they loved Jacob to death. But that was kind of what that was. I mean, it wasn't rotten. Matches, love seeing Jacob. That's my thoughts.
Tell me what you think, but I'm just kind of sick of the Solo Sikoa universe, I guess. And, this giant is just in the background.
He's a small giant, isn't he?
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the outfit or I don't know if it's just the hair. But he's a giant and he's clearly bigger than everyone else there, yet you don't think oh my God. You don't think oh my God, that giant's going to get to Jacob Fatu. You don't have that thought.
I'm telling you, remember what I told you? He doesn't have an abnormally large head. He has a small head. A giant has to have a big head.
What about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
What, was anybody fucking scared of him in a wrestling ring? Or, you can have a small head and be a basketball player.
I'm trying to think of other giants as I'm running through my head.
Well, and think about it, with Jabbar versus Bruce Lee, visually looked ridiculous, and you didn't have any problem thinking that Bruce Lee could probably just snap all of his goddamn little tiny little arms and legs. But if he'd have had a big giant fucking head, and the shit would have been on.
When did you first see Game of Death? Or the footage from Game of Death?
When was it first released? Was it was 78 by that point, wasn't it?
Were you seeing Bruce Lee stuff in the theaters?
Yes. Of course. Didn't everybody? Enter the Dragon was a big fucking deal. Me and my cousin Larry went to see that 3 times.
Well, he's a black belt.
A third degree, I believe. I'll have you know.
So not as good as Kung Fu Fooey. I was going to say, not as good as Hong Kong Fooey, but close. He's a fourth degree.
Well, I don't remember. Now, he could have been a third or a fourth or a fifth. You never know, because it was the same kind of strip mall as Fooey got his license in. But anyway, nevertheless, that was that. I agree with you. The Samoan universe around Solo is not that threatening to me.
Yeah.
Are you threatened?
Again, I think it just kind of dropped off, and I like Jeff Cobb. Yeah. I get a kick out of Tonga Loa. I don't know where Tama Tonga went.
Oh, this was Loa, not Tama.
Yeah.
See, there are too many of them.
And I don't think it's a Jacob Fatu problem, him being the babyface against him. I just don't think anything. Jeff Cobb came in, he was just slotted right in. And it's worked in the past. It worked with Tama Tonga, where you just accept, okay, this person's with this person. But there was very little done to establish it. It was just all of a sudden there.
Well, now there's too many degrees of separation from the whole original thing.
Yeah, there's no Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is nowhere near any of this programming, and that was the original thing.
Well, but the spinoff, right? The Jeffersons, you didn't suddenly wonder where the bunkers were. You didn't care about them, right?
That's a good point. That's a
very
good point, yeah.
But then there's a reason why that, fucking Marla Gibbs didn't get her own show off the Jeffersons, because it was too many degrees of separation.
But the original Lionel on All in the Family, that's still the Lionel.
Well, yes. Yeah. You can't replace anybody that visible. See, and maybe that's what they think is happening with the Tama and the Tonga, Loa, or Tama and Loa. And I don't even know about Taller.
You see?
See, he just came from nowhere, and he doesn't look like any of the other people. So who's he related to?
Tonga.
Well, they don't look similar. You could see the family resemblance between the Usos and Solo, and you could see that Jacob was the one of them that turned into a werewolf, but this other guy comes in looking like Ned. I don't know what his fucking deal is.
Well, that was that, and we move on with Saturday
nights. We're moving on now?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Jeez. Seth Rollins and LA Knight. And this, I mean, we'll talk about the match first, but I'm sure everybody's heard what happened. But again, these two guys can work and they're over. And you got a baby face, you got a heel, and it's one-on-one. And they start cooking at a little good pace, and they go to break in 2 minutes. Okay, when they come back 3 minutes later, they're at a stationary body scissors by Seth Rollins. And within a minute, LA Knight's making his comeback, hits his elbow off the top. And then they start going into shit. Seth goes to the top, and LA Knight's going to do his leap up and suplex or whatever, superplex. But Seth slipped under him and buckle bombed him. And then as he's in the middle of the ring, Seth does a springboard swanton across him, boom, and then rolls up and jumps up on the ropes to do a springboard moonsault. But LA Knight moves, and Seth is going to land on his feet to do whatever. Now they're doing the flying Walendas. And Seth lands on his feet and blows his fucking knee, his right knee. So, and immediately he's like, I'm fucked. And he rolls over in the corner, and they showed a replay, and you see Paul's face with his standard grin on his face to when he sees Seth land and buckle and roll over, and he's yelling. He's like, oh. And they had a conference in the corner with Paul and the referee, and the doctor comes over, and Seth was doing most of the talking. And then he pulled himself up to his feet and took one step on his good leg toward LA Knight so LA Knight could kick him and hit the BFT 1, 2, 3. And LA Knight gets his hands up, but you could tell he's not pissed. I don't think it's Seth, but he's like, oh, fuck, what's happened here? And yet they never shot Seth again on camera because they were having to help him out. So they went short. I don't know how long they were going to go, but probably the best match we were going to see in this show did not really take place.
I've seen a few replays now going around. A lot of fans have isolated different parts of the footage. It appears that he jacked up his knee the first time when he did the rolling tumble salt.
Well, I saw that clip too, and I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think he was off balance. He wasn't perfect, and I'm willing to be corrected if Seth Rollins comes out and from his own lips says, oh, I fucked it up on the first one. But otherwise, he was rolling. He came up, instead of rolling straight to his feet, he was rolling a little sideways, so he bobbled to get back up on both feet, but it didn't look like anything that would have traumatized his knee. And he didn't flinch or, do anything more than grab the rope and get his balance to jump up. It wasn't like, oh, should I do this? But when he did that, when he landed on the moonsault, he just landed with a lot of velocity. And even though his knee was bent, he's had knee issues. And that kind of impact, if he's got and had knee issues before, it didn't look like something that would just have completely blown his ACL out, but it could have gone the other way. It could have been the PCL. From a PCL is more when you have a hyperextension or something, or slippage in the knee joint rather than a clippage from the side. Did he just come down with too much weight and too much velocity on something that he's been, did he do therapy for a WrestleMania last year? He rolled in the ring and his leg was flopping around.
His leg was done last year, and then he was out for a long time rehabbing that.
Okay, so it don't take being hit by a steamroller. And I saw some people add, "Oh, it's a work." Well, you're a fucking idiot.
Well, see, that's the thing. I think if you watch the show, it's easy to think that because the commentators, right before it happened, were talking about his bad knee on Monday. And then all of a sudden the knee injury happens. And, I think this is one of the problems with like the Michael Cole style of commentary. When you're constantly all year round screaming at everyone in a really fake manner about all these great things you can buy, just nonstop all year round. Nothing seems genuine.
Yeah.
When there is something genuine, you don't believe them. And that was my first thought too. Like the way the commentary is talking about this. Wade Barrett sounded like he knew right away because you almost hear, "Oh no." Oh, you hear it in the back. Yeah. "Oh no." And I think it was ACL. And I think it was absolutely his ACL.
Well, first of all, with Wade Barrett, he's a wrestler and he knows. And he also knows there's no goddamn way in the world that they would have done this if it was a work to completely bring a halt to the match, pretty much expose that, again, there didn't used to be injury timeouts until there started being so many real injuries. So if the guy can't get up, the referee can count him out or the guy can pin him. But when you stop something like that, and then you see the obvious, what's going on, and there's nothing happening because they're making shit up, and then he takes one step and walks into the guy's finish and protects his leg while taking a move that doesn't have anything to do with his leg, he's fucking hurt. And it would be a stupid, stupid way to work something.
And let me ask you about that. As a promoter, as a booker, was that the right decision? Seth Rollins realizing he's hurt, very short relatively, although it's on TV, so it seems like a long time, conference with Heyman and the referee, and then he gets up and walks into a finish that he may not have taken if he hadn't gotten hurt.
Well, yeah, no, that wasn't going to be the finish, and that's the thing is, that's why I said Seth was doing a lot of the talking. If you know, Paul wasn't saying a lot. Paul kind of had that, his face just kind of freezes in moments where it's like, what's happening? You can't really tell what's going on with him. It's probably served him well. And the referee was just, clicking her IFB apparatus to communicate or hear back and forth or whatever. Seth, that's the thing. If a guy was knocked out, goofy and had a concussion and said, I can't, let's do something. I got to go. You can figure out a way to small package yourself. So Seth had to realize, because he's had a history of knee injuries, he knows what they feel like. He didn't just think, "Oh, I've sprained my ankle." Because elsewise, he might have tried to figure out a way to small package fucking LA Knight with one leg. But he had to realize, oh shit, this is not good. I'm fucked. You know what? Fuck it. You beat me. Because I'm gonna be gone for a while. Just fucking take it. Why not?
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. Do you think that's the right decision?
Yes. To make the best of a bad situation, and the people knew that there was something wrong, and LA Knight's reaction to winning kind of, because he just got out of the ring and got the fuck out of there, that kind of drove it home. I'm not saying he was acting unprofessionally. Everybody was disappointed, upset, whatever. But at least he got a win over a name that, to make the best out of this match that couldn't go on any other way. Because Seth ain't going to give him the stomp in that condition. And then sometimes guys, well, didn't old Mercedes moan? She lost a match in Japan when she realized she was fucked up. Maybe that's what they should have been doing beforehand, was trying to hurt her to get her to do a job. Seth realized, I'm going to be out for a while. Fuck it. Right. And who's going to argue with him at that point? I don't even know if that came from the back as much as Seth just said, let's just get the fuck out of here and do this. But, that's the problem is everybody knows now it's a work, but also the companies tell them, because it used to, a guy would just roll out on the floor and the other guy would fucking, keep making the referee or keep breaking the referee's count to give the guy a chance. But now everybody's got a IFB microphone, a doctor comes, there's this big goddamn conference, and the other guy's just left over there going, what the fuck? I'll stand here until somebody tells me what to do. So it's more obvious. This has always happened, but it's more obvious now, is what I'm saying to you.
So let's talk a little bit about Seth Rollins. Obviously going with the idea this isn't a work, and he's hurt again, and it's his knee again. How do you treat someone like that when they come back? Now, you've previously been around Seth Rollins before he was there, when his style was even more physical, I think you could argue, and he wasn't carrying as much muscle as he is now. And he still wrestles an incredibly physical style, and obviously you watch what he does. He's a heel doing a lot of babyface things with his legs. The springboards, the jumping, those are babyface things that a heel's doing. It's his style. He's gone down now a few times. A, what do you do with him when he comes back? And B, he's the Money in the Bank winner. You put a whole stable around him with Heyman. We could figure out what they're going to do with Heyman and that crew after, talking about Rollins, but how do you book him going forward? Do you have to, in the back of your mind, think that physically he may not be able to hold up for a long period of time? And is that unfair to think that?
No, well, I mean, physically, he'll be able to walk around again. He's not, in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. It's just a question of how athletic he's going to be and how much he's going to have to modify his style. And it probably wouldn't be a bad thing if he didn't do as many springboards and have a coronas and dives and things as he does now, because he's still getting older anyway, and he's a star and he doesn't need to, because he can talk for the most part, and he can work, and he's being put in with other big stars that they care about. And if he's working with CM Punk ain't going to be doing any goddamn moonsaults to the floor. So it's he can modify that and still have years more on his career that he wants to have, depending on how many he wants to have. The question is, right now, they're losing millions of dollars because they're not only going to have to pay him his guarantee while he's out, but they've just put, as you said, the heel stable together. And they had plans going forward for major pay-per-view events, et cetera, et cetera. And that does cost millions of dollars in revenue at this level. And so that's one reason why, to be quite honest with you, that some of the guys that are just the AEW darlings and or even sometimes the WWE darlings, they don't want to invest millions of dollars and have millions of dollars on the line with guys that are doing shit like that. Because this was a kind of a medium range difficulty wrestling maneuver these days. But as we've seen, it can happen with a simple thing. And that's why the WWE won't tolerate guys going to the extent they do in AEW and devaluing all the big moves, because they don't want the guys to have to do so much more to get the same response, which leads to the multiple injuries and surgeries that are more prevalent now in every company. So there's a lot of money on the line here. And if I was them, I would keep Seth on television every week as much as possible with Heyman, with the other two guys as a tag team, henchman, whatever the fuck, and put Seth in a guy. Remember when Brett was hurt and was in a wheelchair as the leader of the Heart Foundation?
97, yeah.
but he was still on TV every week. He was really hurt. He had the knee scoped. But we kept him on television, and he was still the leader of the group. Well, now they're going to say, oh, Seth needs to have surgery and do his rehab and, go to the beach house or whatever the fuck they do these days. We'll see him in 6 months or whatever. I don't know. But if it was old time wrestling and you wanted to keep the booking going and the guy had to show up to get paid, you'd have him out there in a fucking wheelchair with that leg all wrapped up like a mummy and have him still talking and getting heat and pointing his finger to have other people do shit. But I don't know. We may not see that for a while.
If they go the other way and it's Dr. James Andrews, surgery, hardcore rehab from home, what do you do with Heyman in the stable? Do you look at this as a chance to do something different with someone else and set up Rollins to be a babyface when he comes back? If he's not going to actively be on TV, but Heyman obviously is, and Braun and Bronson will be, what are the options and what should they do?
It might not be if it's the ACL, if it's 6 to 9 months, and again, the other ligaments aren't quite as serious, but he's had previous damage. Maybe this is just something else, but it's still going to be a little while, one would assume.
I mean, can Heyman do the Jimmy Hart, Jerry Lawler?
I swear to God, with Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
With Braun Breaker, well, what about if Paul still has the briefcase? Because, Seth had to go to the hospital. Paul's got the briefcase in his car.
Possession.
Paul bestows the briefcase on Braun Breaker because Paul's already looking ahead to his next young champion.
That's heat.
And then, and it's the line, what about Seth Rollins? Well, what do you do with a racehorse when he breaks his leg? You shoot him. And then Seth could come back for Braun. And that doesn't, because again, people are so smart. If it's a legitimate injury and it's a long rehab, as you said, people are going to be sympathetic to him when he comes back because he's gone through all this. So how about if his goddamn wise man it ended up saying, okay, I'll take your shit and put it on somebody else, another horse I can ride because I shot you because you were no good to me anymore. And then you've got Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. That's money with Paul, in the middle of it.
I mean, obviously LA Knight beat him. To do something with LA Knight having to do with that, but I don't know what. But
no, I don't think otherwise than LA Knight having that win under his belt to be referred to and what he does next over the next few weeks or whatever. I don't think that's going to historically be a match that is even remembered or referred to. They're going to slide on by.
Some people will say Rey Mysterio, by and large, even though he's older now, wrestles the same kind of match he wrestled 20 years ago.
No, he doesn't.
And he has no knees. His knees are gone.
But that's what the thing. He does the same thing, a couple of the same things that people remember him doing. But no, and this is not a disrespect to Rey Mysterio. It's an acknowledgement that he's 30 years older than people first saw him, and he's had injuries, and he is smart enough and talented enough to modify his shit to where now, if the people see Ray shine for 45 seconds, do a trademark thing, get cut off and sell, get sympathy, and then make a comeback, hit a couple of things off the ropes and a 619, they're happy. And go back and look at what Rey Mysterio was doing in 1997 or whatever. And no, it's not the same thing. But he's smart.
Well, going to Seth Rollins, he's 39 years old. Does someone have to have a conversation with him about how much he has left in the tank if he wrestles the same way he's wrestling?
Well, no, he should be having that conversation with himself, because he's the one that can tell you're the one that can tell what you can do or not. Now, if you want to ignore yourself, so I'll keep doing the shit that I used to do, even though I'm probably going to hurt myself. Well, and that's one thing, but you guys throughout the history of the wrestling business, when they had to work to get paid, and when they had to show up, they were advertised and blah, blah, blah. They figured out ways to get themselves over so that as long as it was them doing something, they didn't have to do every goddamn thing. They could work around it. You could work around a leg or work around an arm or, whatever. You've changed your style. Dick the Bruiser, for fuck's sake. He took hip tosses in 1959, but not in fucking 1982. You have to, but you still got to go to work. So you figure out what you can do to get yourself and your shit over that doesn't involve shit that you can't do anymore. And everybody has done that in the business at one time or another.
If he returns every week in a wheelchair, that theme music's really going to be awful. It's going to be endless.
That's the thing, is that he wants to be the Messiah. Well, he could come out with a goddamn, I'm just saying now, I like fucking Paul taking the case and giving it to Braun better. But if they wanted to keep him on TV, he could come out with the Jim Jones sunglasses and the wheelchair and the whole 9 yards and preach to people and corrupt his evil minions with Paul beside him.
I think it was off air. If it was on air, I apologize. But I mentioned to you that we've received a lot of feedback recently from people sick of the Seth Rollins heel leader of the stable character, I guess. Sick of people.
Yes.
Some people finally fed up with the Punk Rollins feud, and some people specifically not digging Rollins. To your point, the best solution might be a complete change, because it's not going to hurt business. It can only improve things. Either elevating Braun. I don't know if there's a mystery new leader you could just substitute in there. It's kind of like when Edge left Judgment Day. Judgment Day just kind of took off on their own. But you're convincing me that is the best way to go.
Yeah, I mean, if there was some new mystery person to just come in and, why do they drop him in out of a helicopter? That would be caca.
And if Rollins could somehow get back within a year, he could return and chase after the guy holding his case that has the ability to cash in.
And then the clock is ticking because he's only got a few months left. There you go.
That was Seth Rollins and LA Knight, and we'll see what happens with Seth Rollins shortly, within a day or so on TV. But Jim, there was still more of Saturday night's main event.
Oh, there certainly was, they had to kill a little time because the match between Seth and LA Knight went home early, but at somehow, and I believe I might know, but somehow they had time to fill and still went off the goddamn air in the middle of fucking Goldberg's promo. This show was snake bit. And this is NBC television. It's a WWE studio. It's not like they are strangers to live broadcasts. And at the end, they were just going hard to break, where they weren't even, not only were they not pitching to it, which often they don't, but they weren't fading. There wasn't a lead to the break. It just, boom, there's a commercial. And then they managed to go off the air we saw 10 seconds of Goldberg's retirement fucking speech. I don't know. It was a fiasco, but all I could say when I was watching this was poor Gunther, who is the most talented, dedicated, professional. They ought to be over the moon at the talent that they have got in Gunther, or the employee they've got, I should say, because goddamn poor guy. They even brought Doug Dillinger back. And I've known Doug since 1985. He was a Charlotte City police officer working for Crockett, doing security at the matches.
That popped me. Seeing old Doug Dillinger knock on the door,
Yeah.
that got me. Because I didn't see him early in the show. I missed when they showed him in the crowd. But when they knocked on the door, that got me.
Yeah. And you know, and I don't know how old Doug would be, but my God, I think he was certainly had to be in his 30s when I was in my 20s. Anyway, I'm surprised he's still alive. But anyway, he did the walk. Goldberg looked in pain walking. Could you tell, or was it me, or did he always walk like that?
I don't know if I thought it there in the hallway. I definitely thought it a little bit later, that it looked like as he was walking, he was struggling moving around. Again, he's a guy. He's not a young guy, and beyond wrestling, he played football.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying he needs to, that he's Ox Baker and he has no track record of being physical, but the aura, that's the problem. I think it was Goldberg in the match coming out doing the stuff that Goldberg did, but it wasn't the same aura. And I think the fans weren't going batshit. Remember when they would see Stone Cold come back, right? No matter where it was, Pismo Beach or Seattle, Washington, the place goes out of their minds because it's Stone Cold and he still had the aura. And I guess he probably still has the aura, but we haven't seen him in a while. But were the people in Atlanta going nuts when Goldberg was walking to the ring, or was it kind of like, yeah, there's Goldberg?
It seemed like they were really into it. Now, the match kind of just popped up within a few weeks. So it wasn't like there was a long build, but also I think, Goldberg's a big star and his peak was a long time ago. And if you try to look at any other period in wrestling history, dropping someone from 25 years ago to now to be as over as they were then, it's hard to do.
Well, and that's the other thing, is that he hasn't had the constant comebacks, and I don't mean it just comebacks in the ring. I mean, he's back at this function or that event, or he's at this, or he's a guest at ringside. Like a lot of the guys, to keep people steadily watching them. If you want to see Goldberg really in the ring, you're looking at YouTube or whatever from 25 years ago. And 25 years, that would mean that in 1986, Pat O'Connor could have come in and challenged for the NWA title.
Would it have drawn? Even in St. Louis?
No. Shit, by 1986, St. Louis wouldn't draw for Crockett. Anyway, so I just think the aura that he used to have that would leap through the screen at you is not there, and it's time. It's no shortcoming of his. But nevertheless, Gunther is a genius again. Goldberg was stationary for the most part, and Gunther worked off of him. And he had Goldberg no-sell the chop. And basically Goldberg was the punches, the elbows, and the clotheslines. And Gunther, would stop him and go to the top so he could get slammed off. And then they did a spot where they fought on the floor and Goldberg could miss a spear and go through the barricade so you could get the effect of the impact of his spear without it having to, him having to actually spear a person and it not looking like people wanted it to. And then boom, 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 Gunther worked the knee. Gunther was leading this, let's say, charitably, kind of step by step. I'm thinking that the reason why I think they did everything they were supposed to do, but I think it took longer than they thought, which is maybe why they went off the air, because I think Goldberg was drooping after a while. So at any rate, finally Goldberg goes for the spear, but Gunther moved and Goldberg speared poor old Charles Robinson. And down he went. And then Gunther took Goldberg's knee brace off. And they were talking about Goldberg's, bad knee and et cetera, trying to make him vulnerable. And the fans were into that. And he whipped Goldberg's knee with the brace. And then he went out and he killed time working the people because they were about to go home. And I'm thinking that he was probably trying to give Goldberg, because Goldberg had to get him up for the jackhammer, right? I'm thinking he's probably wanting Goldberg to breathe at that point, all he wants to. So he milked the people, and he shoved Goldberg's son, and Goldberg's son hops the rail, and a security tries to hold him back. And Gunther gets back in the ring, and now Goldberg hits the spear. Boom. And the fans are up now. And then Goldberg gets him up and jackhammers him barely. Not the flattest one ever. Here comes a new referee, cover, 2 count. And then Goldberg couldn't get up because his leg was bad. And Gunther got the choke. And Goldberg fought, but he couldn't get out, and the referee called for the bell. So we got to see the spear and the jackhammer. And, enough smoke and mirrors with the referees to where Goldberg had plenty of outs. And then Gunther choked him out, which is what the right result was in this instance. If you're going to have Goldberg's final match against that guy, he couldn't fucking make the people happy. But it was 15 minutes bell to bell, and I don't know if they thought that it was going to take that long. Because then they went to break, as I said, cold again.
Right away, yeah.
Right away. And then came back at like 9:50, 9:30. And Goldberg's in the ring with all of his family and his friends. And he said they've come from all over the country to see me here tonight. And he spoke for 15 seconds, and in mid-sentence, boom, black, off air. And what the fuck?
Yeah, we kill AEW when they've done that in the past. They did that with Sting on the pay-per-view. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I would have rather them shave a few minutes off this match and give him. I would have rather have seen a speech from Goldberg, an emotional speech, than a few extra minutes on the match.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think they had to give Goldberg a few extra minutes in there to not vomit. But the thing is that you can't imagine that they left less than 5 minutes at the end for an in-ring speech with Goldberg and all of those people. I would in the format. So how the fuck they get that far off? I don't know. But yeah, the AEW overrun now is an accepted thing, and it's regular and expected. But I think it came from AEW not being able to time their show and just run it over to the point where they said, well, let's do it anyway. We'll add to the average. But this was a rotten way to end a network television program.
Yeah. I think going to the break right after the finish and then coming back just to see a few seconds of what was clearly a big moment for him and a lot of people there. He said over 100 people from around the country were there that he brought in for this.
Yeah.
Again, there was plenty of other stuff on the show they could have shaved. And after the Rollins injury,
they were short.
Yeah, I'd be embarrassed that happened. That was what I wanted to see. Seriously, that's what you want. They should have let off with Goldberg then and let him have his final match and give the speech. But they ended with it, and we got to see. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a match they go from finish to commercial like that so abruptly.
Well, and you wouldn't have known they were coming back because the break went on for so long, and everybody's clock probably said, half of them said 10 o'clock anyway, because it was just that close. And it would thing. So yeah, the talent is more professional, and you hardly get to see them do anything. Normally, the production is more professional, but in this case, they shit the bed. And you have to put up here with jelly rolls and rapper G's and whatever the fuck. But is that better or worse than watching a bunch of fucking children act like male cheerleaders in a never-ending fucking video game fight that lasts for hours and hours and it all blends together? Why can't we just have some wrestling again?
Well, that was Goldberg versus Gunther, and that was Saturday night's main event. There's a lot more to talk about. This may be the end of that because of time travel. But Jim, after a full day of wrestling, starting with the Great American Bash and, of course, All In, Saturday night's main event, it is night. It's time to go to sleep. And we know someone that we can tell all the listeners about to help them with a good night's sleep.
Well, I'll tell you what, there was no problem with me going to sleep after I'd watched some of this stuff. Actually, the only problem was there were the horrific sights that I had seen running through my head. I was tossing and turning like I was having a living nightmare. Please stay away from me. I don't want to see any more wrestlers. But if you would like to sleep, and not only sleep, but sleep refreshed and wake up refreshed, or stay asleep and wake up refreshed. Can you sleep while you're refreshed? Or would it be that you were too excited when you were refreshed to sleep?
Take a shower.
Regardless, the sleep is what refreshes you, folks. And unlike other sleep aids that give you next day grogginess, our friends at Beam and their dream powder will change everything in your life. It will change your sleep patterns. It will change the trouble you have falling asleep, the trouble you have staying asleep. You won't even have to get up in the middle of the night and wee as much as you used to, because, I used to wake up in the middle of the night, Brian, and I would think, do I need to go? I should go. Do I need to go? And then I'd wake myself up. Well, now you don't have to worry about that. And there's also a good chance that you won't actually go.
Well, once again, folks, these are not parts of the tenets, the promises of our friends at Beam, the Dream Powder.
They have a contract with America that if you add Beam's Dream Powder to your routine, you will sleep through the night without tossing and turning. It will instantly, your muscles will be useless as you'll just lay there. And that way you get more sleep because you have no use of your appendages.
First of all, no. Second of all, this is not their promise to America, I assure you.
Well, I said no tossing and turning. And you'll wake up actually refreshed, not groggy, not exhausted, ready to take on the day. As I've said many times, after I take some Beam, I get a good night's sleep. I wake up, I'm ready to punch some son of a bitch in the face. You're going to want to take on the day, folks, and you're going to want to win. And you're not the only one, because Beam has improved 17.5 million nights of sleep, and 92% of the users surveyed reported better sleep and waking up refreshed.
That's right.
The other 8%.
That's the percent.
They're going to check in as soon as they regain the ability to understand English. That's what the survey's in.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, or what we're talking about is a good night's sleep. I can tell you one thing here in this household. The lovely Suzanne is a big fan of Beam's Dream Powder.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Stacy has been I told you she's got the customized mug they have also. The Dream Powder has been introduced into her daily or nightly routine, and now you can just give her a sip of this and boom, she'll be gone. You don't have to worry about her for days at a time.
That is not what happens. She'll get a good night's sleep.
Well, I don't worry about her for days at a time. I don't know about you.
That is you. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, your significant others will wake up feeling refreshed, as you will when you use the fine and delicious, I must say, Dream Powder from Beam.
Yes, that is true. That is a trend. And if they're reluctant to try it, we'll just slip a little bit in when they don't notice.
No, that's not allowed.
Thank you later.
That's not allowed. It is only by consent, and I can't believe we're talking about this here. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you consent to what you ingest yourself, get yourself something that'll help with a good night's sleep, feel refreshed. Beam.
Ingest what you enjoy, and we will tell you now, without jesting, how you can save a lot of money on it for a limited time only right now and in the next few minutes, but not long. Beam is giving our listeners, that's you people out there, you people, the best offer yet, up to 40% off. You can try it now at shopbeam, B-E-A-M, shopbeam.com/JCE. Use the code JCE at checkout and get up to 40% off for a very wee limited time. Shopbeam.com/JCE. The code is JCE for up to 40% off. And you can put your whole family to sleep for a very affordable price.
Again, in a sense, that is exactly right. Beam, the dream powder from our friends at Beam. We love it over here. You'll love it there. One more time, Jim. That promo code for all the wonderful listeners.
All the people who haven't written it down by now, shopbeam.com/JCE, the promo code JCE, up to 40% off. Put your neighbors to sleep, too. It'll be quieter around holidays.
All right, we are in the future again, or the past, one or the other.
You know, it sounded almost like at the start there, like you hit the first two notes of Moon River.
Oh.
Those weren't either
those
of those
weren't
with them.
Oh.
No.
Well, my Huckleberry friend, why don't we talk about a big day of wrestling? AEW All In Texas. All in one day, all in Texas.
All in one, just barely. That's why they didn't start in the afternoon because of Saturday night's main event. They started in the afternoon because they wouldn't be finished till Sunday morning. Go ahead, finish your preamble.
Well, again, AEW All In, a big day of wrestling action. We weren't sure when it would end. A lot of people thought it would end before 8 o'clock, before Saturday night's main event. But it started at 1 p.m., the big pre-show. And let's go to Jim Cornette.
Well, hold on now. They started, it was 3. See, we got it there on Central Time. So we want to get this exact now, because this is one for the ages. They may have been going for a Guinness Book of World Record fucking deal. They were in Central Time in Texas. So here on Eastern Time, the pay-per-view started at 3 o'clock. That means 2 o'clock there. Now, the pre-show was 2 hours long, but they didn't actually have matches during the entire 2 hours. So they were just talking and various nonsense for about an hour. So we only add an hour onto the matches. So really the matches started about 1 o'clock Central Time. And then the thing was not over until how far into Saturday night's main event? I had to watch it in 3 different pieces. It was so fucking long. So are we saying that the main show was over 6 hours, right? Plus the pre-show.
The main show plus the pre-show, definitely. The main show, you said it started at 3. I didn't even realize that. So it was at least over 5 hours, close to 6.
Yeah. It was 5 hours and old Kenny's match wasn't over yet. And then they had that whole main event. So the main part of the pay-per-view was 6 hours long, plus closing in on it, plus the hour of pre-show matches. Well,
the final 2 matches alone were 90 minutes.
Yes. Every bit of it. But this is... I understand that everybody's saying, oh, but they drew 30,000 people. And yet, and 15,000 of them have had tickets since they announced this thing because they're going to go and watch pigs be slopped. I don't know anything that AEW does. They will go and watch it. But it's a very wonderful thing. But they're overlooking what's in front of their eyes is that that crowd is diminishing the newness, the specialness every time they do something for the first time ever twice, and or they jump the shark on, they've flamethrowered people and they've fucking poisoned people or whatever. What can they do to make any difference ongoing on I'm talking on a business basis. There's no free agents they can sign. There are very few, if any, on the horizon it looks like they could get. The ones they got that's in top spots is getting older and ain't going to last long at this rate. Their first All In Wembley Stadium did 80,000. Then they did 50,000. Now they came Texas, did 25,000. Yes, it's great. Also, Tony spent $1 billion fucking dollars. It's all great. But as a product, what these numbnuts don't realize is MJF is the only one of that generation age group that has a picture on. What the fuck else can any of you motherfuckers do to each other? Nothing works. Nothing beats anybody. It's at the same time both an incredible expose of how phony wrestling is and the most legitimately dangerous and painful shit that's ever been done. And you guys used to do a hard way every once in a while for a black eye to make people believe. But now this indie-rific generation has made sure that everybody's smart and knows that it's all a work and et cetera, and then goes out there and plainly cooperates with each other to slice each other up for real when everybody knows it's already bullshit. The art has been lost of guys that were talented enough to fucking have the fans say, holy shit, he killed him. And he didn't. To now the fans are waiting to see the next spot where they can say, holy shit, he killed him. And there's a possibility. They put the Von Erichs on the pre-show and didn't announce it until that day or the day before somebody showed up on the news. By the way, I'm just looking at my notes here, but more importantly than that, they started the show off with 2 8-man tags on the pre-show, along with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corner people. And then they proceeded to pretty much do everything but draw and quarter human beings for 6 hours, 7 hours, no, 6 more hours, until it was way past the point of you're just, my God, please, what the fuck? And they've set this precedent for themselves because they've done so much other goofy shit since in 5 years. What are we going to do? Fucking human sacrifices to goat gods in 2.5 years? Is this the scale of evolution, Brian? I'm sorry. I'll allow you to speak.
I don't have any comments about the goat gods, whatever it is. But again, it's a lot of wrestling. And at a certain point, like you said, and we've been saying it for a long time, of course, but everyone kicks out of everything. Nothing can beat anyone. And you know, when you're doing it just for big pops, where the big pops matter more than logic or storytelling, it's just about getting those big pops and getting those oohs when you pull something out, that defeats so much of the purpose. And like you said, I mean, I don't know how many fans have the thing of like, oh, I've seen it all, I don't need to see more. They get sick of people and booking more than, you know, they still pop for tables. But it's just nonstop everything.
Well, but that's the thing. You know, when you talk about defying logic, reason, what about memory? There's a bunch of guys that's, you know, risking life and limb multiple times in the same match. By the time they get to the end, you can't even remember who went through the first fucking table because there's been so many others. And again, like I said, the hard way, it used to, okay, I'll punch you, boom. We'll get some fucking color from the eyebrow. Now it's like, well, I might give you a neck fusion surgery here with this, but so Just for the sake of folks who want us to make sure we report all the details, the pre-show matches, which we did not watch. Dustin Rhodes, Marshall, and Ross Von Erich, and Sammy Guevara with Kevin Von Erich in their corner. In the opening match, defeated Shane Taylor, Lee Moriarty, Charlie Bravo, and Sean Dean with Anthony Ogogo and Trish Adora. And we had just been talking last week about, my God, they've got the Von Erichs under contract and they haven't even put them on this, Texas show in a stadium. And they added them the day before, right? Or maybe it was there all along. They just announced it.
We didn't know about it.
We were reading off their website.
That's right. It wasn't on their website.
Yeah, so it's not like it was our goddamn short. Well, we didn't know about it. No, didn't know about it because it wasn't on their fucking website. Through it like 4 days beforehand.
Kevin Von Erich got a nice pop for beating up Anthony Ogogo, putting the claw on him. And the other thing was Dustin has, I guess I'm not sure, they his sister's kids? They call themselves the Rhodes brothers?
Yeah, his nephews, they said, yes. And they were there.
They were there too, because I was confused because I left the room and I came into the middle of the match and they said the Von Erichs are there. And I haven't seen the Von Erichs in a while, so I'm looking at the guys at ringside. I'm like, are those the Von Erichs? Who are those guys? I had no idea who anyone was. And then they're like, those are Dustin's nephews. Obviously, of course.
But, I was going to say, again, the Von Erichs, I think it's more important to the people watching from everywhere else but Dallas at this point on an AEW show, because the Von Erichs, what percentage of, they said there were fans here that I read in the opening, 29 countries and 50 states there were fans from. So 29 countries, all 50 states.
Hey, how do they know that? I've always wondered that. Even when WWE says that, how do they know?
Well, no, it actually, mail computer orders, internet, you know what I'm saying. When the people have bought, you can get that information from, unless they've got ExpressVPN telling the guys in Biloxi, Mississippi, and they think he's in Ireland. I don't know, but that's how. You didn't used to be able to do that. Obviously, 40 years ago, at Texas Stadium, the biggest, the record-setting gate, Flair and Carey, 30 however many thousand people. I don't know if 10% were from outside Texas and Oklahoma. I bet you maybe Louisiana, Shreveport. But that's why I say, they need to worry about what can they follow this shit with, because their big shows, wherever they're having them, are not getting bigger, they're getting smaller.
As a positive, I'll say, it looked great. They made it look full and great on TV. It looked tremendous. It was the most impressive looking AEW show, even more than Wembley, I thought. And apparently there was a big walk-up. I heard they got close to 30,000, if not 30,000 people. Yeah,
and when they've got something where they can shoot at least some percentage of the building, instead of when they were doing, 2,000 in the NBA buildings, their TV people can make it look good because you've got some options and you got the wide shots and everything. And again, they did great. But they've put themselves in a position to where now they think, oh, geez, we've got all these people and the WWE's counter programming us, so we have to goddamn slaughter a fucking herd of cattle.
There are some people that think that's why the event ran as long as it did, was a deliberate attempt to fuck with Saturday night's main event.
Well, yes, but think about this. They're on fucking pay-per-view. And or there's what are they, whatever they're streaming on, in what percentage are they going to fuck with NBC television? Is suddenly some AEW or wrestling fan on the fence going to go, oh shit, I could either watch Saturday night's main event from the start, or I could find this pay-per-view or streaming show and watch the last 20 minutes of it. Maybe. because they wouldn't know it's still on unless they were on fucking Twitter looking it up. What sense does that make? Am I missing something here with the
No, I don't think
the modern technological generation?
Unless the idea is we will cause people not to rush to Saturday night's main event right away when it starts. I don't think it's an effective counter attack, but I think Tony needs to counter attack more because they're gonna fuck with every show he has going forward, every big pay-per-view.
Okay, but rush to Saturday night main event. How? He started at 3:00 in the afternoon. Saturday night's main event started at 8:00. Don't people want to eat dinner? Are they having fucking sandwiches in front of the TV so that their viewing is not interrupted?
Well, a lot of people use the AEW weight loss program, which is, once a month you watch their pay-per-view and you don't move for hours. You don't eat.
Second match on the pre-show. Hitchia. Lance Archer, Rocky Romero, and Trent lost to Ishii, Hologram, Kyle O'Reilly, and Big Boom AJ, accompanied by Big Justice and the Rizzler. Okay, Brian, the Costco, or was it Sam's Club? Which one was it?
These guys are the Costco guys.
Costco. They were supposed to be getting them all this massive publicity because of their reach and et cetera. Then everybody made a big deal out of the first time. Now they're on the pre-show. And did anybody even talk? Have they been on television? Did anybody talk about it? Is anybody talking about them being on this? Or is this just, hey, bring your kids and let's have fun?
I didn't know they were going to be there. Got a nice pop. One of the most bizarre moments of the night, there was a face-off at ringside between Rocky Romero and Big Justice, who I'm thinking is, 15 or 16, but he's bigger than Rocky Romero.
Well, yeah.
They have a face-to-face, and it looks like this kid's going to kick the shit out of Rocky Romero. And then not Frankie Kazarian, what's the other guy's name? Trent Beretta comes in and shoves him to the ground, and that got the fans a little into it, and his dad, Big Boom, had to make the save for Big Justice and kick some ass. He got to hit the spear, Big Justice, at the end.
Jesus Christ.
This is their jelly roll. This is their jelly roll. This is AEW's jelly roll.
Their jelly roll?
That's right.
The fucking chocolate chip kids or whatever they were. And FTR beat the Outriggers. That was on the pre-show. Oh, God. I haven't even counted. I have to think that there were 50 fucking people. 60. No, counting the girls, 60 people on this 6-hour pay-per-view at FTR just made the pre-show. All right, let's start it. The opening match was for the 6-man tag team title with, goddamn, I forgot to write down which ones are the champions. I think it was the Four Horsemen, right?
No, the Ops are the champions.
The Ops are the champion. So it was Samoa Joe and Hobbs and Shapoopy defending against Claudio and Wheeler Useless and good old Gabe Kidd. And the bell rang and they broke into an immediate 6-way and there were 4 on the floor. And with Poopy and Kidd in the ring, and they traded like 60 or 70 fake chops that neither one would sell while the other guys are fighting. I'm like, this is the goddamn start of this fucking thing. And that's when I realized, nobody gives 2 shits what we say about this match. So therefore, I'm fast forwarding to the finish. And I do think that Shapoopy doesn't get enough attention when we talk about really bad wrestlers. Because the thing that he has where people hit him and he doesn't even blink is so phony that you can register without selling something, but you have to acknowledge the impact or it exacerbates and exaggerates the fakeness of what the guy hit you with. And he's real bad. So after about 15 minutes, the heels were beating on Joe in the ring 3-on-1, while Hobbs and Poopy, on the wide shots, you could see them kneeling at ringside watching them do it until their cue came for them to come in and help. And then Joe got old Wheeler up in a muscle buster 1, 2, 3. But then, of course, the heels got back on the baby faces because they can't help themselves. Every goddamn match. If the heels win, heat after. If the heels lose, heat after. If the match doesn't happen, heat after. And they beat Hobbs up with a chair and then put the chair around Joe's neck and Pillmanized Joe's neck with the chair. And then the heels left, so the doctors came in with a fucking stretcher. And they took time. They showed it. They weren't rushing it. You're seeing them load him up and get him out. So the first match on a 6-hour show is a 15-minute long 6-man title match with heat after and a hospitalization angle that they will repeat verbatim before the thing is over with. Brian, your thoughts on this situation?
Well, that's an AEW thing. I think in AEW's best moments, they always do the same angle twice on the same show. They've been doing that since the beginning. You know, it's kind of a throwaway 6-man match for me. I'm not a fan of the Death Riders. I think Claudio is fucking poison when it comes to just... I can't get into anything he's doing. Those European uppercuts are the worst looking thing in wrestling. They don't look like they do anything. And
I won't even argue with you there, but no, I think there's a lot of phonier looking shit on this program.
Claudio, it's like, I know it's like one of his main things. It looks awful. Every time he does it, it looks like, that's what imagine if Claudio just threw a fucking punch. It would actually look good compared to that.
But now think about this. You're talking about a program where some of these guys, if they land something in the vicinity, so, you know, you got to don't deal in hyperbole, stick to accurate description.
You know, I don't
go ahead.
I don't care too much about the ops. Gabe Kidd's interesting. He's kind of like a Killer Cross off the gas. You know, he's got kind of like a little attitude. I'm not going to completely dismiss him. I wish he wasn't aligned with the fucking wrestling death that is the Death Riders. No one wants to see any of that shit. But I'm curious to see what they're going to do with him, if anything, or if this is just, you know, a temporary thing because he's going to be New Japan.
But doesn't he just distract from Josh Alexander, who's like better?
Josh Alexander, man, I don't know if you watched this. I'll say it here, and if I have to say it again later, I will. Josh Alexander came out for that Casino Gauntlet match, and you could have heard crickets. You could have heard fucking crickets.
Oh, I'm not saying he's over, but to me, they look like they ought to be a brother tag team. And except the Gabe Kidd has no physique and no intensity.
They look like John. Nevertheless, they look like little Moxleys. Well, you know, Gabe Kidd more than Josh Alexander, but yeah, to me it was a throwaway opener. I'm glad they did it here instead of in the middle of the show. That would have caused the biggest bathroom break ever. But not my thing. This match.
All righty. Well, something that I wanted to like and gave a chance to before it went south, the Casino Gauntlet match. And they had established on television that Mark Briscoe and MJF were going to be the first two guys, and that's been the concentration of the thing. The attention on the build has been MJF and Briscoe, and they've been doing promos with each other. And as I said last week on one of the shows here, if they'd started doing the right thing 2 years ago with both these guys, that should be the main event on pay-per-view for the title, Mark Briscoe and MJF, instead of the goddamn chicken head biting fucking sideshow freaks. But anyway, so they start the thing. We got a heel, we got a baby face. MJF gets it. even though he's one of the young folks and Mark's been around for a while, so he gets it. And they can both work and they know how to set shit up to get a reaction. And Mark has great fire and timing. And they get 2 minutes or whatever they get, because there was, again, no legitimate time. I think one time they went 5 minutes and the next guy came out. But however long they got, I'm interested. And then number 3 comes out and it's Ricochet. And I'm like, oh, fuck. This fucking doofus is going to screw something up. And he got in and he made a deal with MJF. MJF made a deal with him to work on Briscoe together. So I'm thinking, okay, MJF is smart. He's probably figured out a way where he's going to work together with the fucking, and they get the fucking baby face down and then he'll powder out. And they kind of started doing that. Bandito came in and MJF and Ricochet shook hands like they're going to take care of him, like they took care of Briscoe. And then MJF thumbed Ricochet in the eye and bailed and then let them fight. And MJF is staying out of it as much as possible because, again, he's smart. And then here comes Take a Shit. And he and Ricochet started doing the flips. And then he and Bandito started doing the flips. And it started turning into every AEW match. MJF came back in and stopped Bandito. And at least went to pop his hood. But the thing is, I think if they had... I'll let you make a comment here before we go to who's next in the ring. But if they had stuck to MJF making suckers out of the other heels and staying away from the other baby faces, and then brought it back around full circle before it went this fucking long with this too many side streets to Mark Briscoe and MJF, and done some type of angle to continue it more than what they did in a shorter time, they had something here. But then so many people started coming out and they took so many side trips, and then MJF steals a win from Briscoe. There
were too many points where everyone was on the floor except for the people in the ring. And like it happened and you're like, man, well, yes, there's like 12 people on the floor right now waiting.
It's so, that's the thing is you go, okay, a guy got bumped or a guy got bumped. When there's 10, 12 people laying around, how can they be all unconscious for 5 minutes at a time? It's nonsense. But anyway, up till now, before I reveal number 6, it wasn't bad with MJF and Briscoe in and out, in and out. Do you agree?
I agree.
And then this was the first thing that started killing it. Number 6 is Mystico, who interrupts MJF trying to pull Bandito's mask off. But he doesn't interrupt it. That music interrupted it. What is that music? That is oh my God, it's like a funeral march. It instantly makes people go, oh, why are they playing that?
Well, again, in Arena Mexico, they sing along and they get really into the spirit of that song from 20 years ago when Mystico was a big star or whatever it was, but it didn't necessarily translate here to
There was no response.
It's definitely, of all the music we hear played during the run-ins, that's the most interesting one.
But it went forever. That's the thing. He comes down. There's no response. The music is death. He has a face-off with MJF. He tries to fire the people up, but they don't give a shit. And all you can hear is that rotten song that keeps playing and nobody doing anything. And then Mystico again begged the fans to cheer. And it's like they kind of did so he would start wrestling. And I'm like, what happened to the other 4 guys? While time stood still, they're just laying around somewhere. It killed whatever momentum they had. And then Mystico, finally, he did a spot with each one of the guys, one at a time. Went to the top rope for a dive, lost his balance, jumped back down, climbed back up, dove on everybody. And here came poor Josh Alexander. And now it's just a normal AEW mess with MJF in there somewhere, staying out of it. But then Bowens came out. We were 15 minutes in already. Here comes Bowens. And then Roddy. And then Brody King. And I zoned out. Every once in a while, MJF would pop in, do something that got a reaction, and then lay out so the other people could come in and do some moves. And then, Brian, what have they done to our boy? Juice. The juice is loose.
The facial hair was gone, and he was wearing Braun Strowman's outfit.
That's no beard, no mustache. If his hair is still long, but it ain't frizzed out and crazy, it's just he looked like all the rest of these children. They cut Samson's hair, and he got in and beat up Ricochet and did some stuff. But no, he looks like everybody else now. Actually, not as good. What you couldn't tell with his previous look that he has just a normal fucking face. He looked like something.
And again, different outfit. Last time we saw him, he was in pants. This time, like when the Undertaker wasn't wearing the Undertaker outfit, but he still had the black unitard or whatever.
Leotard, whatever that.
Yeah,
not unit. Well, I start to say unitard as a slur, but. And then they've already got 11 people in there. And then suddenly, Bishop Khan and Tia Leone come in front of the referee because it's no disqualification. And they just start beating up Juice. And Ricochet then hits him with a shooting star, gets a 2 count or whatever. But now, because that's Ricochet's guys, but now in front of the referee again, they're keeping the other people out of the ring. They're getting involved. So then here come the Gun Boys. They're back. And they beat up Ricochet's stooges. And they get in the ring. And Ricochet runs into their finish. And then all 4 of them roll out and fight off. And the match keeps going. And here comes Ibushi. And I'm like, they're ribbing us. And then here came Frank Mortis, number 13, Lucky 13. And I'm just tired of looking at it. And I don't know what went wrong here or what they were waiting for, but that's the point where it was 5 minutes before the next guy came in. And so they didn't do what they were supposed to do for a while, I guess. And then suddenly, boom, here comes Max Caster. And after this, they're out of the 30 minutes into this thing. And all this shit's going on. And then Caster comes out and does the promo while he's walking to the ring. And everything in the match is at a halt. You don't even see it because he's doing the promo and he's getting them to do his chant. And then as he gets to the apron, they bump him off the apron. And then Roderick and Mark Briscoe go back and forth. Mark hits the J Driller on Roddy, and MJF comes from behind and dumps Mark and covers Roddy 1, 2, 3.
It took a while to get there, but the result was what it should have been.
I'm not saying MJF shouldn't have been the winner. And actually, the exchange between Roddy and Briscoe within MJF capitalizing, that little exchange ain't bad. But right after they've had Max Caster come out and bring everything to a goddamn screeching halt with his fucking lame-ass bullshit and make it funny, and then boom, 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 and do the fucking finish. After 35 fucking minutes, is what I'm saying to you.
Again, I continue a theme we've had for almost a year now. The breakup of the Acclaimed is utterly fascinating. I thought it was completely over. And then he comes out there and just does this shit right in Bowens' face. And then it all ended. So I'm not sure how that helps anything, but MJF the winner, he's now guaranteed a title shot in the future. That's intriguing. Which is the whole reason he went with the Hurt Syndicate. Right? Get the world title back.
And hopefully they will produce, because more on that later, but we got another issue.
Well, Jim, we do have an issue. We do have an issue.
What's that?
And that issue is good eats. That issue is good food. And of course, when we're talking Texas, a lot of people think about barbecue, and this is barbecue weather for some of us. And you never know. You got to know what you're cooking is ready, is right. You don't want to poison yourself and your entire family and all your friends. And the temperature of the meat is important, but it's also a pain in the ass usually, or pain in the tuchus, I don't want to curse here, to have to monitor that. But now there's an easy way that we could introduce all of our friends listening to.
That's right. You can hook us your tuchus up to our friends at Chef IQ Sense, or Chef IQ, who have the Chef IQ Sense product, the brilliantly simple cooking sensor that goes into whatever you're cooking. And they just came to us last week, Brian, and told us about this revolutionary product. And I got one, and of course, it talks to your phone. So instantly I scream, "Stacy!" I believe I told you this the other day. And she was overjoyed. Now, I've been using the same old rectal thermometer that my mom used on me when I was a kid on steaks and roasts and chicken and turduckens and things like that. Sometimes these cuts of meats, it's hard to find where the sphincter is to put that rectal thermometer in there. But so it's a wide range of whether you're overdone or underdone. But with Chef IQ Sense, then you just stick this sensor into the meat or the chicken or the fish or your mother-in-law, whatever you're sticking in the oven. And then it will call your phone, I guess. Is that the right terminology, Brian, that the young folks use? It will tell your phone when the meat's done.
It'll speak to your phone.
It'll speak it to your phone. And it'll say it's medium, or it's medium rare, or it's rare, or it's mooing, or whatever you want.
Of course, Jim, it also tells your phone the temperature of the meat you're cooking. Suzanne is over the moon about this thing. She loves her Chef IQ and the Chef IQ.
And it'll tell you if your cow was sick with mad cow disease. When stick the thermometer in the burger meat, it will tell you if it's got a temperature, it's got something contagious.
That's not the way it works. It won't tell you, it won't surprise you either and say, hey, this hamburger actually finished third in Belmont.
Well, I'll tell you, as a matter of fact, last time I was at Belmont, I had bad luck. The starter's gun shot my horse, but it will indeed tell you also the particular species. Like you can stick it in if you want your muskrat a certain way. I think it's got a species setting, doesn't it? Or possibly zebra, depending on what you're cooking.
Once again, standard fare. I guess we could say standard meat, hot dogs, hamburgers, pot roast, whatever you're making. You need to know what you're making is ready for you. Suzanne loves this. She loves having the app and having to be able to monitor everything, or being able to monitor everything on her phone. Very convenient.
That's right.
Cool.
You don't have to stick your head over the when you're grilling outside. You got to stick your head in the thing and get smoked to poke at it, and then you let all the juices out. Or if it's on the broiler and you cut it, it's just draining dry.
I would say this is a great thing for anyone who cooks their own meat, or anyone who wants to make their wife happy.
Well, that takes into account at least 30% of the population.
At least.
But folks, you can be free to kick back, relax, visit, drink. You can get drunk, see? You can get drunker than Cooter Brown, and still your meat won't be burnt or raw, and you won't give yourself some kind of tetanus and botulism by eating raw meat.
One thing
just because you're pickled and snookered.
One thing has nothing to do with the other. But again, this is a great deal, and this is a.
And I'd advise anybody out there to just drink heavily. Get some goddamn Fireball and some fucking Jägermeister, and then just make sure you don't pass out so you can answer the phone, because that way your meat will be overcooked.
Once again, we're talking about the fine products, Chef IQ Sense. A great way to stay on top of what you're cooking on your phone, or again, give it to your wife if you want to make her happy.
It's summer grilling season. That's why I'm talking about, people are going to have a sociable cocktail. They're going to get hammered out there in the backyard. No sense burning the expensive steaks. Or you could potentially try to check the steak. You could be drunk and you could fall forward and have grill marks on your cheeks.
Let's not focus on...
You don't need to do any of this with Chef IQ Sense.
That's right. But wait, hold on. Oh, you heard that, Jim. You know what that means. We got to let the people know exactly how they can access this great deal.
That ominous sound means you can go to chefiq.com. That's CHEFIQ.com. And use the promo code JCE. You're going to get 15% off during their flash sale. ChefIQ.com. Promo code JCE, 15% off during the flash sale. Because you can't beat their meat, and you don't want to eat shoe leather.
No, you don't. And you don't have to do that or worry about that from our friends at Chef IQ.
Well, and you know what was next, Brian, on the show? And I hate to say, I'm not going to phrase that this was one of the good things on the show, but this was one of the this was the real thing on the show. And it was, heartbreaking. But Adam Cole, I guess they had announced beforehand, maybe the day before or whatever, that he wasn't going to be cleared to wrestle, and they were going to crown a new TNT champion or whatever, but he came out, did the entrance, so the people knew, and the announcers were talking about it. And he was choked up from the start, and he said due to health issues, he was going to relinquish the TNT championship, and he was going to be gone for a while, was a quote. And another quote was, "If this is the end, you're the best fans in the world." And he started crying, and the fans got behind him. But as much as I have thought of Adam's talents and verbal skills over the years, this is in no way, I don't think he's a good enough actor to make any kind of an angle out of just a temporary situation. I'm trying to figure out how to say this right. It has to be serious, or he wouldn't have been able to be that choked up. And, the fans got behind him and got him back into it, and he thanked them a bunch for their support. And Roddy and Kyle came out and hugged him, and then Roddy was crying too. Another, example of how, no, this is a serious deal. And he got the thank you, Adam chants, and the one last Adam Cole baby. But now, again, the typical stooge sources are reporting what's concussion issue. Do we need some? Well, we don't need any clarity on this because his health is his goddamn business. But this is what we've been trying to wrestle with for I don't know how long, is what could be wrong with Adam? There has to be something wrong, but what could be wrong with him that has caused him to lose his size and look that unwell? But at the same point, he's still been able to wrestle these when he does wrestle these 20-minute matches or whatever the fuck. And is he passing any kind of medical examination to be able to do that? I asked a lot of questions there. Answer any of them.
Well, at a minimum, we know he apparently was concussed again on Collision against Kyle Fletcher. I saw a video that purported to be the moment where he took a clothesline and he landed on his head. This comes off him having that apron spot a few weeks back, where he took the back of the apron just right on the back of his head. I mean, they're just the worst part of the apron on the worst part of the head. It looked really bad. So the concussion issues certainly are real. And it's one of those things where once you start having concussions, unfortunately, sometimes if not most of the time, they will happen more frequently going forward.
And or with a lesser bar to clear to cause it.
So I'm not going to completely dismiss that end of it, but like you said, he doesn't have to answer anyone's questions, but it doesn't mean we don't have questions. Just about over the last 4 years, what exactly has happened?
Well, and that's the thing. I don't even, is it questions or is it concerns? Because I was a big fan of Adams. I'm one of the guys that put him on fucking TV in Ring of Honor when he was 19. And even then, in the ring, he got the physical but the mental aspect of the business selling as a babyface. His work looked good. He was in a lot better physical shape then than he is now, bigger, more, etc. But he could always talk. He had conviction in his voice, and he could deliver a fucking promo and make you believe that he was saying it rather than he was performing it. And in NXT, I thought the group was tremendous. And he had the Shawn Michaels-ish modern day habit of doing too much over and over. But still, what a talent. And when he came in here, again, I think, didn't he debut the night that some other goddamn star debuted? Danielson. Yeah. And from the start, the booking was, but he got the thing with MJF. They got it over. And then suddenly everybody starts getting hurt. They're doing the comedy with Roddy and the other guys, who's the devil. It just all went to shit. But since he's been back, he's getting smaller. He's getting frailer. And with concussions, I'm sure you can't go out and, work out in the gym like a beast. But at the same time, I think there's an element of, because he was not lying here. This is all he's ever wanted to do. And I'm thinking that maybe he's been doing it when he shouldn't have been doing it. But I'm thinking also that maybe everybody else or whoever else was in on it, if anybody, shouldn't have been letting him do it. Because I'm more worried about him than his bad booking in fucking AEW or whatever. It's not like Tony's going to turn him out in the street if he's. Oh no! No, that's the thing. He pays every goddamn lazy jackleg that fucking signs a contract with him. So certainly, I think it's more important that Adam get visibly and physically well first before he does any more wrestling. I feel so bad for him. I like that kid. And I know it's what he's always wanted to do, and he was doing it well, but goddamn, don't kill yourself, literally.
Well, it definitely seemed like a retirement promo, or at least he thought it probably would be. Because if it's just a concussion and you're waiting to get cleared, that's a couple weeks.
Well, no, it can be longer.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but the thing is, this much and going on for this long, they told Edge he'd never wrestle again, and he didn't for 7 years. So Adam is what he was 19 in Ring of Honor. He ain't 35 yet. So, goddamn, instead of permanently damaging your brain, and you've got a secure spot with a contract with a company that doesn't, to sometimes its detriment, kick anybody out the door, let your goddamn brain heal for a while, a good while. And that doesn't ever mean at 34, nobody can say never.
He's 36.
36, okay. Nobody can say never, but don't do it for a fucking while.
And I hate to,
But anyway,
and I hate to put it this way, he's working for the right guy. That if you love wrestling and the best thing for you is not to wrestle, or you can't because you can't get medically cleared, there will be something for him to do. He could be involved. He can't take bumps. And he doesn't even have to be on camera. He could maybe just play video games on YouTube on AEW's behalf. I mean, Tony, I'm being serious. Tony would keep him around to help.
Wait a minute. Did he would play video games on? No, he wouldn't. But think about this. Adam Cole, as well-spoken as he is, as much goodwill as he has with everybody, bring him onto the announce team. Or Adam Cole, as much as everybody likes him, make him a match producer. Goddamn, I'd rather have his fucking kicking out 18 super kicks than fucking Moxley and his fucking Nick Gage trash sideshow bullshit mentality. He can stay. And you know what? They said in the WWF, Vince wanted to make him a manager.
For Keith
They
Lee.
do a lot of stringent medical testing. It just occurred to me, did they maybe see something? But why you can't make him a heel now? You don't need a babyface manager, but as a member of the broadcast team, as a member of the production staff, as a guy to train at first by pointing instead of being a crash test dummy, a guy like Adam Cole is valuable because he's dedicated. But don't let him in the fucking ring for a while.
Well, that was a very sad announcement. Obviously, it put the fans in the fans weren't expecting it. It was a very sudden thing. I mean, you say it happened before. It was literally right before the pay-per-view. They announced all of a sudden it was a 4-way, that he wasn't cleared. And then the story just kind of came together as it happened live. We went from that to a big 4-way for the now up for grabs TNT Championship, formerly held by Adam Cole.
Well, and again, the only route we can possibly go to crown a new champion is let's have a 4-way. So it's no DQ and everybody gets to do everything. And it was a real moment. And then we go back to the normal markishness. And Daniel Garcia came out and had a long hug with Adam on the stage there. And that was heart tugging. But then it's Garcia against Sammy Guevara, against Dustin Rhodes, against Kyle Felcher. And Sammy and Dustin are partners in Ring of Honor. So Dustin, one of the guys that's going for the TNT title, comes out to the ring carrying 2 different belts.
Yeah, he's Ring of Honor tag team and 6-man tag team.
God damn it. Again, if you don't, they ought to send out mailings so you can post a list next to you. Okay. Who has the 20-something belts? What did 20-something that one of our readers figured up one time that they were administrating?
That's right.
In this company. And so the guy that's wanting to win the belt, he's coming out. He's already got 2 belts. It looks like a fan fest. Regardless, I'm not saying Dustin doesn't deserve to have a belt, but anybody with all these belts is just ridiculous. And the bell rang and it's a 4-way. So 15 minutes later, after they'd done everything they figured out they wanted to do, Garcia is in a ring with Dustin. They've wiped out Sammy and Kyle out, so they can go to the hiding place they have under the ring or whatever for talent to be out of the picture. And Garcia had the sharpshooter on Dustin for a while. And then I don't know if the idea was that Dustin was going to struggle and turn it, but it looked to me like that Garcia just stepped back over and then bent over and Dustin small packaged him 1, 2, 3. So Dustin couldn't beat Sammy because they're partners in the other set of belts that he's got. And they didn't want to beat Kyle because he's a young fucking star. And kind of, if they're going to give everybody belts, he's the one that ought to have one, or one of the ones that ought to have one. But the 55-year-old guy beat Garcia, who's another babyface. But now he has 3 belts, and Garcia don't have any, and Kyle don't have any. So it seems unfair. Dustin was very emotional.
In Texas.
And in Texas. What?
His nephews. Right there.
And the Von Erichs.
And the Von
came
Erichs.
Out and hugged him and celebrated. Right. But I don't know. Maybe he's the new belt collector.
I think a lot of this card was about trying to give their fans in that building like just nothing but like happy moments. And if you think about who went over in almost every scenario, that's what they did. They made their fans happy with who actually went over.
Well, I guess that's something that you should do. But at the same time, I don't know that you should slaughter the entire talent roster and carry them all off in meat wagons to various body bag factories on the way to doing it. Seems like there'd be an easier way. Can we do this the easy way or the hard way?
I'm not sure with Fletcher. That's 2 different times that Fletcher either hurt Adam Cole or something happened. Obviously, part of it's Adam Cole, but if you're Tony Khan, are you a little annoyed with Fletcher?
Again, I'm looking at the field. If I was Tony Khan, I'd be annoyed at almost everybody on this fucking show. But I mean, seriously. So as I don't know who was the last one to take a fucking hammer to Adam Cole's head and give him brain damage. So I don't really know which one to direct my pith at, to be pithy with them. But when you look at Sammy has been, well, they just stuck him over in Ring of Honor so they can pay because I guess he's just a dick that always keeps fucking up. And Garcia's just, Jesus Christ, it's like fucking oatmeal. No sugar, no nothing, just oatmeal. Dustin, it can work and has the last outlaw kind of old timer thing going for him. But if they're going to put Kyle in this match, he's the young proto star. He's got a physique. He's on the way up, allegedly. Or they could have had a 3-way and just left him out.
Well, that was the TNT title match. It looks like you skipped over the Garcia-Sammy dance contest, but what was next on the show, Jim?
Well, next on the show was they had some great, big, elaborate staged entrances on this program, Brian. And again, I'm not poo-pooing the concept of grand entrances. They've been done many times in many ways. But remember when the entrances used to have something to actually do with the fucking person that was entering to the entrance? And it wasn't just a brief little vignette performance and then the same shit they normally do or whatever? This was just, it was shoehorned in for the sake of the pageantry. But can't they figure out a way to bring Stone Cold Steve Austin out of a goddamn beer truck or something to tie into the goddamn entrance? There's a bunch of ninjas with swords and they're on the stage and flipping and swinging swords. And I'm thinking, well, it's Okada. And there's a big Japanese symbol on the back of the screen. And here comes, and it's Osprey. I'm like, why is an English guy accompanied by ninjas? And then they were plugging a video game. And I'm like, do these guys dream of being in a video game? What does a goddamn game of ninja assassins have to do with a fucking soccer hooligan?
Well, he's the aerial assassin.
But he still ain't a goddamn ninja.
Man, they were flicking those swords around. I'm thinking, I don't want to fight them. They should get in the ring.
Can you imagine if one of them had lost their grip? Holy shit, But anyway, so they did the video game tie-in plug to make Willie Boy happy. And they just a budget like this, and they still figure out a way to look like teenage dorks. And then, actually, this was my favorite part of the show. Suddenly, on stage, there is a singer. And she's singing Chaka Khan. And it's a young lady who you told me later, but her name's JoJo Offerman. I'm like, well, okay, I haven't heard of her, but I haven't heard of any of these fucking musicians. And she sang, "Ain't nobody love me better." See, I sound like just like Chaka. We're the same key.
Oh, yeah.
And she sang it. And then the song was over and she got nice applause, did a great job. And then they faded to black. And then it was whose house? And Swerve's regular entrance. So it wasn't, he didn't come out and start singing a duet with her and then walk to the ring. It was like a little musical vignette in between. So, again, best part of the show so far. But, and apparently, JoJo Offerman, you say, was married to Bray Wyatt. Why didn't we get talent like that in the Wyatt family instead of these fat indie guys?
Obviously, it wasn't really referenced as to why she was singing that song about Swerve.
Well, apparently ain't nobody loved me better, and not that there's anything wrong with that. But no, I don't know if there's any connect. But is it just because they wanted to get people in a nice little groove for Swerve? But why sing a really good song and then follow it up with that fucking awful goddamn rap shit he does?
Well, this was definitely, I think this may have been the longest introductions for this match of all the introductions for the whole night.
Well, we ain't got to long yet. Because then it was time for Swerve and Osprey's opponents. And here come the Hardley Boys. And they come out on the stage in the Benjamin Franklin jackets of the Founding Fathers thing, and they get their pyro. And then they run back to stage right. And you don't see them, and they're like, what the fuck? Where'd they go? And then they have a goddamn fake Revolutionary War era rowboat is on some kind of bracket on the edge of the building. There were riggers, and people spent money on this amateurish looking bullshit. The boat's stuck on the wall so they can basically sail it across the arena while these two Nimrods are in the boat doing the salute to like Washington crossing the Delaware. While Smiley Roberts is reading the rib announcement that they've written about how they're the Founding Fathers, and you're hearing the fife and the drum music and the beep, beep, beep. And the buckaroos are jacking off in the boat with their fake acting.
Not hearing the fans.
And it's going forever. And the people are just staring, just sit like this, just what the fuck? And not only the people, but did you see they had a shot in the ring of Osprey? He had wrist tape on, but he was tapping his imaginary wristwatch back to the fucking back. This ain't our fault. We ain't taking a time away from our fucking match because of this bullshit. You go back and watch it. That's exactly what he was doing. I've seen that many times from a number of people. But now the people have even realized these guys were always just the trained chimpanzees. And the only one that hadn't figured it out yet is Tony, because he keeps letting them indulge themselves in this ridiculous tomfoolery. But then, Brian, unfortunately, after the length of these entrances, the match was even longer. Swerve and Osprey against the Lollipoppers. And the bell rang, and instantly, as again, it turned into a rapper and a soccer hooligan fighting two male cheerleaders. And they're having the announcers tell the story that these two fucking nitwits are tag team specialists. That's why they're bouncing Swerve and Osprey around. But again, Jesus Christ. It's going to go forever. If you've seen one Bucks match, then this was worse because it brought out the worst in Swerve and Osprey too, and then it turns into, the acrobats on America's Got Talent. And it just doesn't end. And Knox is the referee, so therefore there is no structure. He's useless. At the start, they shot old Matty off for a double elbow, and he thought he was supposed to duck it, so they elbowed him in the fucking face. But the Bucks, in between their gymnastics and or the alley-oop stunts they do, it's just some flat-footed bullshit because they don't really know how to wrestle. And they never practiced any of that on the trampoline, so it's just a collection of cool moves, and it's, at various parts. One in particular was this ridiculous back and forth that was so choreographed and contrived and fake, and where they just do everything to each other in turn over and over again until they all fall down.
Yeah, sequence. The fans were dead the whole match. All of a sudden, they whipped out everything they could for like 60 seconds just to hope to get anyone up. It was a sequence.
The thing about the acrobats on America's Got Talent, what were their names, Brian?
Oh, no one remembers their names.
Watch them for 3 minutes twice a season. It was fun. So they gave Swerve the flipping spike tombstone pile driver on the floor, and he was back in the ring about a minute later making a comeback. They did a tease thing where Osprey knocked Swerve out with his elbow finish by accident, but of course, Swerve suffered no ill effects from it. He'll just be mad about it sometime later, maybe. The Bucks hit their finish on Osprey and got a 2 count. Then they super kicked. No, then there was a spike tombstone pile driver on Osprey for a 2 count. Then they super kicked Swerve 8 times and went to knee lift him, but he blocked it and made a comeback because he hadn't been taking bumps on those or anything. Then they gave one of the Buckaroos a double stomp on the ass into a tombstone pile driver. That was a 2 count. And then they gave another tombstone, I think, was a 2. What is worse, that this is so obviously fake, or that the 2 top baby faces' best shit can't beat either one of these little pussies? Which do you think is worse?
Remember, the Young Bucks are like the Road Warriors of a modern generation. That Matt Jackson's throwing clotheslines around like he's Hawk.
So finally, they set it up where Swerve would run with the kick to the head and Osprey would run with the elbow to the back or the head or whatever on one of the Buckaroos in the middle of the ring. Boom. 1, 2, 3 in 27 minutes, bell to bell, after the long introductions. And this was the blow off of the whole nonsensical EVP deal that's never made any sense and has never had any consistency. Is just now they decided to put it up so that they could have this stunt show match here on the stadium when there's their 2 top baby faces, either Osprey or Swerve, and they're in this with a tag team that nobody cares about anymore for something that never made any sense to begin with, just so they can play for 30 minutes and the Buckaroos can come in a flying boat.
Yeah, the fans were dead for the Bucks coming out there. I was surprised how dead they were. And they were dead for a large portion of the match until it became do everything you can, kick out of everything, over and over and over. The pop it got, it wasn't just, yeah, the baby faces won or, yeah, the heels lost. I think it was really, we're sick of this shit. Yes.
Yes.
And I think AEW, I think this night was about giving their fans the feeling that all the shit that you guys hate is coming to an end.
Well, that's the one thing about it. There was more relief cheering from some of these results than it was, like you said, oh, Kerry won. No, it's like, oh, thank God we're rid of these fucking guys. More of that type of thing. But that was that match that was there. How far are we in? I can't remember. I think we're about 2.5 hours in by now.
That would probably be a good time, Jim, to open up a store. You probably had enough time to come up with a concept, come up with a way to bankroll the whole thing, and open up a store. And of course, the perfect partner for your online store are our friends at Shopify.
Now, I'm going to tell you what, since this show started, Da Vinci had time to paint the Mona Lisa. But yes, for you budding entrepreneurs out there, if you've been sitting there thinking, God damn, I got to start a business so I don't have to deal with shit like this. The folks at Shopify can take your dream and not turn it into a nightmare, but turn it into a reality. Because Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. Shopify is behind 10% of all the e-commerce in the United States. Household names like Mattel all the way down to the folks just getting started like you and maybe me. And all you got to do is go to Shopify.com right now and you can get started with your own design studio. AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, enhance your product photography. You can send the folks at Shopify a picture of your next door neighbor's wife and they can enhance all the clothes off of her.
That's not how it works.
And send it back to you.
That's not they're not going to send anything. Of course, we're talking about what they could do for you online. Everyone needs a strong online presence. Everyone's online store needs the right partner, the right boost to get the right sales. You can get those sales with Shopify.
That's right. You can get the word out like you've got a marketing team behind you. They're going to send about 6 or 8 guys, and they're going to dress pretty rough, and they don't shave. And when you walk down the street, they're going to be behind you. That's your marketing team. And when you say, hey, buy some of this stuff from me, people are going to do it.
No, that is not Shopify's marketing team. That is not their outreach. Ladies and gentlemen, they are there for you. There for your business, more importantly.
Oh, you're saying they're virtually there, so they'll intimidate people over the internet for you.
There won't be intimidation. We are not assuring anyone or guaranteeing any intimidation. What we're saying is you will intimidate the competition. Yes. How strong your online presence will be for your
and how
store.
Easily you have created email and social media campaigns to find your customers courtesy of Shopify. They'll tweet people, they'll find their emails, they'll call them on the phone. Sometimes they knock on their door. They will find these people wherever they are.
No, they will not find you. You'll remain unknown.
No, they're working for you. They're going to find other people. And they're gonna pretty well tell them that, you got to start supporting old Joe Bifflick's, donut shop over here. Elsewise, bad things can happen.
That is not the way it will work.
It says they can find wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. So they've got them pinpointed. They've got some scouts out already, keeping an eye on a lot of people. Likely suspects that will spend money.
Again, none of this is a thing that Shopify will do. What they will do is be there for you, and what you need is sales, and they are there to help you and escort those sales right to...
Because they have a list of known easy touches that they have cold called in the past. It'll buy anything.
They don't cold call anyone. That's not the way it works. What it is they bring you in, and they get those sales, and you look up, and you listen, and you hear... There it is. You hear that?
That's right. That's right. I couldn't have dinged it better myself or said it better myself. Right now, folks, turn your big business idea into the cha-chinging that you just heard with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 a month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/JCE. That's how you get the $1 trial period. Shopify.com/JCE for a $1 a month trial period and begin building your empire today.
That's right. They support our online store. They could support yours. Our good friends at Shopify.
And after all, we would be nothing without our supporters. Well, speaking of ringing a bell, Brian.
Yeah?
We're going to ring the bell on the next match, ain't we?
What was the next match? There were a lot of matches.
Oh, a lot of matches. It was the women's gauntlet match.
This was great. Did you watch this?
I got to be honest. I saw a bit of it. Yes, I did. Because sometimes I would stop and say, what the fuck? And then I couldn't stop watching because it was a spectacle.
Everyone had a second. And every second got involved in the match.
Yeah, and some people are just, were fighting amongst each other that weren't in the thing. They had 12 official participants. I'm saying there's a one with, hold on, there's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Potentially somebody else ran in. Yeah, there's about 20 people involved in this thing. So as they start with Statlander and Megan Brain, who brought Penelope Ford with her for some reason. And in order of descending appearance, Willow Nightingale, Ty Mellow Yellow came out with Anna Jay, and that's when Penelope Ford and Harley Cameron just showed up, and she and Anna Jay got in a fight with Penelope, and they all ran off.
That was the funniest thing. Because Penelope just slaps Anna Jay, and she, her and Harley don't do anything. And she just goes, "You bitch!" And then they all just run.
Yes.
Even the commentator started laughing at that.
And I think what was it Penelope Ford or no, it was Anna Jay that was just doing the light little fist clubbing in the vicinity of one of the girls while they were. So then it was Thecla. And then Julia Hart, and she came out with Sky Blue, who just got in the ring whenever she wanted, even though she wasn't in the match and was doing stuff with people. So and everywhere you looked, it was some of the fakest looking shit that you're ever going to see in a wrestling ring. Because it just, none of these young ladies are Mildred Burke to begin with. And then when you put them out there in a mess where they've rehearsed all of their spots, but now everybody has to remember spots with multiple people over a course of 30 minutes. And some of them you don't call sunset flip because they'll be lost in the weeds. So it's embarrassing to put them in this position. But everybody gets to play. Queen Waiata showed up. Then Mina Mellons. Then Athena. Athena, you're breaking my balls. You're snapping my spinal column. She's a stiff little thing.
That's a hell of a decision you made there. Everyone thinks you would have gone with the Who, Athena, but I guess that's low-lying fruit. You went for something a little more, wow, where did that come from?
Yeah, well, I just like the tune better. Thunder Rosa and the Thunder Rosa and the Lightning Strike.
Oh, don't do that. I get nightmares of Horner on your show.
Well, that's true. And then Sayuri. Syury. Sayuri? Help me. I couldn't understand the announcers.
Sayuri, and she is, they really made it out like she was a big deal, and she ran in there, and she was really fired up. Yeah, she didn't do anything.
Another outlaw Japanese girl. And then number 12 came at Alex Windsor. And I had seen the name Alex Windsor, thought it was a guy. And then I realized when you brought it up, we were off the air. I was thinking it was a guy because that was the name of the young English chap that was the pride of the Dory Funkin' Dojo down in Ocala, Florida, like 25 years ago, was the British kid named Adam Windsor. But it was Alex. It was Adam Windsor, wasn't it? Or was it Alex Windsor?
Was it Adam or Alex?
Dory's was Adam, and this is Alex. So I thought Alex was Adam's son or brother, but it's his daughter or sister.
Well, you cleared that. Well, she's also Will Osprey's significant other. So,
I was going to say there appeared to be some nepotism involved some kind of way.
So, in terms of his issues with flying back and forth, maybe this will make it a little easier now that Tony's hired his wife.
Well, no, because now she's going to have to fly back over to England and nurse him back to health because he's been paralyzed. More on that later. As soon as they bring his wife over here, they kick him out of the country. He's got to be in the hospital for a few weeks or months or years, doesn't he? Anyhow, we were 30 minutes into this thing. Mina Mellons went for the figure 4 on Alex. Athena went to the top rope. And they tried to do a deal where when Mina was turning to step over and through on the figure 4, that Athena would come off the top rope. And she did with something where on the way past Mina, she grabbed her head on the way down and crashed and burned next to Mina, with Mina kind of being jerked down on top of her. And then Athena got up all proud of herself, like, I didn't do that, and hooked her legs 1, 2, 3. So Athena won, but, it looked like she had just kind of hurt herself there instead of the other young lady. Did you catch that, Brian?
Yeah, I caught that. And Athena's someone that people who watch Ring of Honor have wanted to see elevated, and she's been under contract and not really on AEW TV at all. Just Ring of Honor, and now she's guaranteed a title shot, so maybe Tony's ready to do something with her.
Well, you shouldn't put it like that. That sounds in some way vulgar. Tony's ready to do something with her now.
You know what I mean. Tony's not a vulgar guy.
Well, speaking of vulgarity, the booking malpractice in this thing, the next match, at least we didn't get screwed on the finish, but holy jumping Himini. It was the tag team title 3-way match. And again, in keeping with the big entrances, the Hurts got two rappers, twice as bad as one. I don't know who they were, but I bet they were somebody. And then MJF, or not MJF, but MVP had the microphone and cut a promo on their way to the ring. But Brian, was it poorly mic'd on the broadcast, or he was kind of in a rap vein, so I don't know what the fuck he was saying anyway. But it sounded like he wasn't stuttering or anything. Could you hear him?
I actually missed part of the entrance because I ran to the other room real quick to get a drink before the match started.
So somebody might... Now, don't be one of these people that listens to the goddamn thing on headphones. If you were watching it on television, was MVP's delivery mic'd properly? But nevertheless. And then here came Hong Kong Phooey and Kevin Knight. And here came Cage and Nick Plain and Nick Plain's mom and Pip Sabian. And we get the bell. And we were afraid that they were going to pull some kind of funky like a monkey business and take the belts off the Hurts without beating them. They at least didn't do that, but the fact that they were in this match, it was sad, unfortunately. But the Hurt Syndicate, for the most part, beat up all of them. If there was people being thrown around, the Hurts were throwing them around. At one point at the start, they were all on the floor. There was nothing happening in the ring. Finally, they got in there. And that FTR on color, I got to be honest with you. I think I would root for Pockets to kick the shit out of Hong Kong Phooey. I cannot stomach the sight of him. it's an insult to me visually that Spitball is on this program. And then the Hertz had to bump for the children. Go ahead.
He's a 4th degree black belt.
I'd like to give him the 3rd degree about...
You hate him more than Orange Cassidy?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I do.
That's kind of stunning.
I believe I do. Because it's just, at least Pockets didn't look cheerful. So Bailey looks like, I know I'm a nerdish douchebag and I'm proud of it and it makes me happy. Rather than Pockets was like, yeah, I know I'm just an insignificant, bland piece of shit, but I'm kind of resigned to it. Anyway, at one point, Shelton Benjamin Germaned Spitball over the top rope onto 3 guys, but they were just doing a lot of stunts, the typical 3-way thing. They tried to break Nick Plain's neck once and then did more dives on him. And then finally, Lashley threw Christian Cage into FTR sitting there at color and knocked them all over. And then Dax got up and Lashley pie-faced Dax so that FTR got mad and came to the apron, but Lashley shoved Christian into them so it would knock them off the apron and then speared Christian 1, 2, 3. So the Hertz did win. At least they got out of there before the bullshit started. But FTR and Stokely got in the ring and there was some conversation or discussion or maybe even argument going on with Nick and Pip. But Cage got in between like he was going to calm it down and said, let's go to his guys. And then Nick jerked Cage around and gives him the unprettier. And Mama Wayne starts laughing. And FTR are shocked. And Mama slaps Christian. And they go to concerto him. And Brian, you're never going to guess whose music played. That's right. The former, what is he the former? He's formerly Adam Copeland and formerly Edge, and now he's just Cope. And he comes to the ring, running down the ramp or down the alleyway with a barbed wire bat in his hand. Well, first he goes to both sides of the stage. While his music is playing, he goes to both sides of the stage. Then he walks down part of the ramp and he poses for his pyro. Well, goddamn, Jack the Ripper would have had time to fucking finish butchering Liz Stride in this amount of... And then he ran to the ring with the bat, but on the way, he kicks Nick, he clotheslines Pip, he rolls in the ring and drops the bat so that he could hit the ropes and double spear FTR and then spear Pip. So why'd he bring the bat? And the heels leave and Edge. Well, I'm serious. What
yeah, you're right.
Goddamn, I could stop this horrible assault on my friend if only I didn't have my hands full with these guns.
Oh, yeah, he had to do his pose. He had to run to both sides of the stage before he ran out.
And then the heels left and Edge helped Christian up and said, go find yourself. Instead of go fuck yourself. That was profound. But as I said, at least the Hertz got out of it before, the whole finish thing happened. But they've got a team that's over and they're spending times doing angles between these children. And now, they got Edge and Cage reunited. I'd rather see Edge and Cage against the Hertz. But we're going to have them see against Pip and Nick. The fuck?
You're going to see him against FTR. That's what you're going to see.
We're going to see him against FTR. We're going to see him against Pip and Nick because they just did the goddamn deal. These two have turned on him after all this time. They're just going to forget about that. But I'm saying every tag team in the company They put a big name team back together, and it's not to work with the World Tag Team Champions.
Now we get to see the Christian journey of self-discovery as he finds himself so that he could team up again with Edge.
Christian told me one time he found himself when he was 12 or 13 in his journey of self-discovery. And he'd never lost the way since. So, anyway, then, Mercedes Moon, a dozen cheerleaders with belts and pom-poms, preface her arrival where then she drives out in a car with a white fur jacket 25 feet long with the names of all the people that she's beaten on it. And then here comes Toni Storm's black and white entrance, and I know they love her. I was a fan until this whole thing just went completely off the fucking rails, and it's goddamn insane. And it's silly. You can't. Can you be an actual wrestling fan the way that we would term it, Brian? You and I, old enough to have actually seen real professional wrestling. I'm not talking about a modern fan. I'm talking about being an actual wrestling fan and not think this is the silliest bunch of bullshit you've ever seen. Just the whole goddamn spectacle of this.
I think the Toni Storm stuff is too much. That's me personally. The AEW fans eat it up, but those are the ironic wrestling fans. They eat up Orange Cassidy.
I think if you had presented this match with these two gimmicks in front of any territory crowd 40 years ago, they would have rioted and burned the ring down. Toni Storm ain't a bad worker. As I said, her gimmick, blah, the whole thing. I know that's why they like her, so I'll give her that. But Mercedes can't work or talk or act except like a stuck-up bitch, and they don't really love her like they love Toni, so I don't have to give that to her. And the bell rang for this thing. We were 4 hours into this pay-per-view already, plus the pre-show. And now they're going to give these two a half an hour to, in some way, be able to claim to themselves that they had one of the great women's matches ever on pay-per-view. Which, again, is not exactly a bar that's high to fucking clear. And within a couple minutes, Mercedes powerbombed her on the floor. The girls are taking power bombs on the floor and going another 25 minutes. Multiple pile drivers. Toni Storm gave the ass in the face and then her pile driver. And within seconds, Mercedes is back up, getting her in tombstone position. But Toni reversed the tombstone and then bit Mercedes Monet's pussy.
That was the first.
It was an interesting counter, but at least she didn't drop her on her head. She just bit her pussy. See, we need to stay believable here. And then Mercedes rolled through with a leg lock after the pussy biting and the spot was forgotten. She reverses. That's another thing. They don't even know what they're doing when it gets over sometimes. She reverses the tombstone, does Toni, and has Mercedes up for it and clamps down on her pussy with the chompers, and the fans react. And instead of Mercedes screaming and struggling away and running and rubbing her butt on the fucking turnbuckle pad or whatever, she rolls through and gets a leg lock. Spot was forgotten, squashed the pop. Toni Storm pile drove her twice more. And she kicked at it too. So I zipped 3 more minutes ahead because I was, at this point, what the fuck? It's bullshit to begin with. Toni Storm finally gave this 125-pound girl with a neck maybe 8 inches around a leaping pile driver off the second turnbuckle to pin her 1, 2, 3 at the 25 fucking minute mark. I'm sure it was a wonderful match for all the people that like the contests involving the girls who are invulnerable and can't be defeated by any method known to modern science.
Well, there it is. I don't have too much to add to that. Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm. And, yeah, I mean, there are people that...
At least she did a job.
She did a job on the biggest stage they have to their biggest female star. And we'll see what comes next. Maybe she needs to have a journey of rediscovery as well.
I think they've discovered too much. I think they need to forget some shit. I think if they would forget half the shit that they do, then we might have something. Anyway, it was time for our double main event. And another brief good point. They brought Jim Ross back to ringside. Bless him that he's better and he's beaten cancer. But he wanted to come back for this.
He's just looking for attention.
Oh, come on, Rick.
He's just looking for attention.
But is this, you know what? I would have used this as like the reverse type of incentive. It's like, Jim, if you don't do all your treatments properly and beat this thing, we're going to make you go to All In. That's what but anyway. So they bring him out for Oblada versus Kenny, the dream match. And I had to, at the time, I even wrote this down where I wouldn't forget to say it. At the top of the match, at the bell, whatever, for all that I've said about our friend old Harpo McFingerbang, Twinkle Toes, Kenny, whatever, I was rooting for him. Because even though he's a horrible baby face with a douchebaggy attitude and a blasé promo and the finger pointing and the gesticulating and the video game horse shit, at least he has in the past busted his ass. But to reward Okada in this for his laziness and lack of performance and boring ass matches and no promos, I think that would be too much. So I was on the side of Kenny Olivier in this one. It's come to this, Brian. Wow. It's the only principle. The Ole Anderson principle. When he's at Cornette, I used to think you were a dumb fuck, but so many other dumb fucks have come along that are worse. You've moved up the ladder without doing anything. Let me ask you, what has Okada done since arriving in AEW that would get him over with anybody that has never seen him before? What?
I don't think anything.
One promo that wasn't him just saying bitch and standing around acting goofy. One good match, even to the standard of good match that the AEW fans hold. One time that he's worked hard. One great angle that you would remember that wasn't just overly long and slow and bleh. He is the laziest wrestler being paid a lot of money in the fucking world, I think. So here came the entrances again. And again, remember I said, well, before the ninjas, I thought it'd be Okada and it was the English soccer hooligan. Now we had singing druids. The robed druids were singing choir music. I'm telling you, we may not be too far away from that fucking goat sacrifice to the fucking goat gods. The druids sang choir music and then they just stood there. And some more rotten music played, and it was worse than Mystico's. And it was a guy in a cowboy hat in front of the druids singing. And Wouldn't the cowboy be for Paige? What has the cowboy got to do with fucking Kenny? And then Kenny was in another goofy looking outfit from some video game, and the cowboy sang some song that wasn't country, but isn't going to chart on any genre chart soon, with the Druids singing backup. The world's first Druid backup band. So this Fruit of the Loom song wouldn't stop from this cowboy that was being backed up by Druids that was singing a video game character to the goddamn ring. And then Justin Roberts, who was dressed like a maitre d' at fucking Ciro's, did the intros. And we were 4.5 hours into the show plus the pre-show. And you just know they're going to go a while here. And I thought the blonde hair on Okada was goofy until now that I see with the dark hair, he just looks like they found a guy working at the car rental desk. And, you know, we talk about how the WWE fans go crazy over paying high prices and getting very little, but if Okada is in any way a dream match right now, you lead a boring fucking life, because this is the equivalent. The first 3 minutes of this thing looked like when Kenny used to have the matches with the blow-up sex dolls. He was trying, but the contribution from the opponent was somewhat limited. It's like he's just trying to move a sack of wheat around. And I don't know what they thought. Again, even if they were getting the Okada from 8 or 10 years ago or whenever he was not this, how is that going to make any money in the United States? He can't cut a promo. He's got no personality. He has no psychology for American wrestling, that's for sure. It's just the same Japanese shit that got him over with that crowd 10 years ago when he could do it better. And that's a different product entirely. So why did they think that they should pay him millions of dollars even if he wasn't broken down and would actually make an effort? How the fuck did they think he was going to be a star here?
Tony was a big fan of him in New Japan. He was really one of the MVPs of New Japan when New Japan was last good.
Well, they didn't do anything that we hadn't seen in the previous 5 hours, but they did do it lighter and slower. Kenny was trying. There's no grudge here. There's no personal issue. I know, that, again, the tiny subsection of Japanese fans, well, the personal issue is they had the tournament matches and the blah, 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 blah. No, I mean on this American television, they have no personal issue that they came out and stole something or fucked each other out of something and did some believable promos indicating that they were going to do something about it by beating the shit out of the other one. So how can that be a goddamn main event on a fucking pay-per-view when it's just two broken down guys that used to have good matches and can't neither one of them talk? And it's a shame for Kenny because English is his first language. But the more you hear him speak, the less you want to hear him at all. You know, Okada's got a nice drop kick. But I've got a better elbow off the top rope. He just collapses. This match, I've been in court where time passed faster. And this late in the show, they're not having a classic for the fans. They're just being indulgent. Or actually, Tony told them, yeah, go all night because we want to try to sabotage the network television show we're up against. At one point, Kenny was punching him, but he didn't sell it or register it, so it just looked like fake punches. Kenny was trying harder with the knee lifts, but again, sack of wheat principle. Kenny kind of full Nelson suplexed him off the top rope, but they both fell awkwardly. It was dragging about 25 minutes in when Rocky Romero came to the apron, but Ibushi, who had been down there checking on Kenny, leveled him. Don distracted Kenny. Okada and Kenny went back and forth. Kenny hit the one-winged fairy. 1, 2, Don pulled the referee out. And then Kenny calls for another referee, which is Aubrey Ed. I don't remember what happened to the first referee. Then Kenny missed a knee lift and Okada slipped out of the one-winged fairy and hit him with a clothesline and got a 2 count. And then they stood up and at the 30-minute mark started trading fake forearms. And then, Brian, guess what happened?
What happened?
My DVR froze.
Oh, that's where it froze. Interesting.
That is where it froze. That's where it froze because I bought the pay-per-view and then recorded that along with the countdown. I record the countdowns in case anybody is, assassinated or publicly set on fire. And they had the countdown shows listed from 1 to 3, and the pay-per-view window was from 3 to 8 o'clock, 5 hours. And they were at 5 hours. They hadn't even got to the main event yet. And that's why I said earlier in the program, you used to have to not only pay per hour of satellite time, and I know there's no budget here, so there's no problem. There's no problem with money, but you had to arrange it ahead of time. In the early days of pay-per-view, our absolute hard out, again in the WWF 90s, was 5 minutes before the top of the hour. So you had a 2-hour, 55-minute show because they needed 5 minutes to re-rack the replay. And there was chaos going on and a lot of consternation if you were butting up close to that deadline because it was going to fuck shit up. Well, now, okay, again, even if they wanted to pay for all the satellite time, there's a schedule on the pay-per-view channel. And if they go over their window, you said yours records that and the replay. So you've got like a 10-hour block or whatever.
12 hours from 1 to
12-hour block. Okay. If they went over 6 hours, so then the replay would start late and be that long. So you're running, even if it's a different cable system, this is causing an issue. And I'm not the only person that bought a pay-per-view from AEW on Spectrum Cable, I would imagine. And I'm probably not the only person that wanted to DVR it. So it's not like I'm making this up. It was just me. That's what their schedule had. So, so anyway, I had to, through nefarious means, I watched this thing on like 3 different platforms now. I had to get the last hour, whatever, of this show from a different source and go back and pick up from where I left off. But how is it? Pretty soon, people are going to ask what days the AEW pay-per-view is, even though it's one show.
So when your DVR cut off, that's when Saturday night's main event was going on the air, right?
Yes, because they're at the top of 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, if they out of their minds and think that they were going to take viewers away from NBC network television in the last hour of a pay-per-view that if you were going to buy, you would have already bought, you'd already be watching, or suddenly again, oh shit, I better catch the last 45 minutes of that pay-per-view rather than this free network television show that's just starting. So back to Kenny and Idiot. Kenny did the faces and the finger pointing, and they traded some shit for 45 seconds or so, and then Okada hit another clothesline. 1, 2, 3. The boring heel who doesn't speak English and is the laziest wrestler in the world beat the douchey top babyface clean in the middle without cheating. Is Okada blackmailing somebody? I'm wondering. Is he connected with the Yakuza?
Well, no, I don't want to say that, but maybe countless.
Does Tony Khan still have all his fingers?
Maybe an extra one.
No, Hotchkiss got his sewn back on.
I mean, I told you I thought Okada was going to win. I don't know how many more matches. You watch Kenny. It's not comfortable. He looks like he's in a lot of pain. His head is like gigantic. But
he worked harder and better than Okada here.
Yeah, he does probably all the time. But Okada will be able to make all those dates. And Okada will be able to do lots of different things that Kenny Omega right now can't.
Okada will be able to make those dates all right. He'll show up. You might have to hold a mirror in front of his mouth to see if he's breathing, but he'll show up.
Was there too much interference?
Well, all this show has been is interference. People just run out and get in fights in the middle of matches and bring everything to a halt. They're not even involved in the match, and then off they go. And, I'm not saying that there should have been 25 people involved in this thing too, but Okada doesn't know how to be a heel. He just does shit the same as Kenny does shit. Kenny just got beat here, which to them and their, again, indie wrestling mindset and Japanese mindset is a good thing. Oh, he was the better man on that night. No, if there's no fucking heat, there's no personal issues, there's no goddamn wrestling. I'm sick and tired of this homogenized indie bullshit that they keep vomiting up at us. And speaking of which, are you ready, Brian? It's time for the main event.
The main event? Glad that you're sick of indie wrestling stuff because this is a serious main event for the AEW World Championship. Texas Death Rules.
Oh, so now, remember we had the guy in the cowboy hat that was playing some, I don't know, fucking goofy music for Kenny or whatever. But now on the stage, we have a guitarist and a whistling woman trying to replicate the best of Ennio Morricone live. And I don't know if any of it was good, but some of it was bad and a bit of it was ugly. And we see the video of Paige walking around a empty cattle farm of some description to indicate that he's a cowboy while this, again, the spaghetti Western classic music plays in the background. He's as much of a cowboy as I am an astronaut from NASA. I love orbiting the Earth. Ground control to Major Jim. Can you see Stan Hansen making an entrance to a guitar and a whistling woman?
Well, they had some intricate entrances in Japan, maybe not all Japan, but nothing like this, no.
No, and
Stan Hansen wasn't a cowboy from Virginia.
Well, no, and actually that's, again, a cowboy from Virginia is sort of like a low-fat Twinkie. But Sockface on the commentary was doing the voiceover that he had carefully written, describing the hangnail there, Adam Page, and basically he made him the only politically correct cowboy ever in wrestling. And who's the guy that's saying that Page is just a star that would have been a star in any era in the 70s, the 80s, and the territories?
I saw that.
That tweet. He's goddamn what Magnum TA would have been. Who is this fucking clown?
Yeah, so it was some guy apparently who I saw in his bio. It says he's on SNY. I've never seen him, but apparently he does some wrestling podcasts here and there.
What is SNY?
The Mets Network.
Oh, good Lord.
But I don't know, but that tweet went around everywhere.
The guy to Triple H Thoughts tweeted, yeah, sure. He'll go into business for himself on live TV. He's got butterfly jeans and a fucking fake cowboy that would certainly get over in any era. I didn't do that tweet justice, but I retweeted it because I didn't want to steal his material. But what kind of delusional fuckwit is this guy that who is it called Page? Hangman Page? It was more like Magnum LGBTA. In what territory in what era would Harley Race and Bruno Sammartino have main evented against Adam Page?
Well, I think the thing is that he's making a comment about someone he personally likes, but he doesn't know anything about wrestling before probably the 90s. So he's saying, this guy could have fit into anywhere in the 70s. What the fuck does this guy know? If you're saying that, you don't know anything.
The 16-year-old male fans would have kicked the shit out of Adam Page in the 70s. Especially take him to the Nashville Fairgrounds. Or anywhere in Louisiana for that matter. Anyway, so here comes the cowboy, and then Moxley and his goofs come out in the beat-up pickup truck. That Page should have driven out in a beat-up pickup truck. What? I don't know. They're just... Ugh. So the match starts, and it's a Texas death match. And it's for the AEW title, and it's Dick the Boozer versus Hangnail Page. And they start the contest somewhere around 5 hours and 15 or 20 minutes, I believe, into this thing, plus the pre-show. And they started off by trading forearms. And it's like it's a rib. It's like it's a rib. And then Page is on him. They go in the corner. He fights like a pissed off teenage girl with him. The fans were booing anything that Moxley did because they didn't want to see him. And they definitely don't want to see him win this thing. But then they each got a fork. And again, Moxley actually had Page stab him in the head with the fork about 20 times and puncture his head so he would start bleeding. Now, he augmented it later on with a blade because the fork didn't do that. But no, that was real. Because this guy, somebody needs to do a mental evaluation. He has one of these self-harm fetishes, or he thinks he's some goddamn famous psychopath serial killer. He fantasizes about that Nick Gage garbage. And he's been to, we know why he flunked out of the WWE because of the mindset that he has, but he's been there. He didn't learn anything. 2 guys he was with left him in the fucking dust. But now he's here with a bunch of marks to support him in the locker room and tell him how great he is. And a fucking feckless boss who will let him do any kind of distasteful, low-class bullshit. This is what you get. And said before in the show, in the old days, the guys would do the hard way, get a black eye to make fucking people believe the business. Now, everything about both of these guys has told everybody this is all completely fake. It's all prearranged. We're cooperating with each other, but we're really going to slice each other up. So at the same time as they're calling attention to how fake wrestling is, they're really hurting each other and making each other look like goddamn subhuman sideshow fucking freak dwellers that like to inflict punishment on each other before they bite the head off the fucking live chicken. In this day and age, I didn't think it was possible to make wrestlers and wrestling look stupider, sillier, trashier, more low class, vulgar, disgusting, and not for major league sponsorship. But they do it. So then, and Page got his juice the normal way, at least from his head. Later on, he'd be rolling around in broken glass, but at least even he's smarter than the freak show fellow, and he's an empty-headed dipshit. Moxley got a barbed wire chair, but he didn't hit Page with it. He put it down on the ground, picked Page up, and slammed him on it. And do you think he did crack with Nick Gage to train for this and come up with the ideas for it, or...
No, I think these were his sober thoughts.
So Moxley then left the ring and his opponent so that he and Marina Shafir could set up a table and then milk that he would throw Paige off the top through it, but they didn't because that trick comes later. And then Moxley asked Shafir for a bucket of broken glass. And I wrote, I never thought I'd see people that made the Sheik and Abdullah look like athletes with good taste. And by the way, may I remind everybody, when the Sheik and Abdullah did this shit, it lasted 5 to 7 minutes. And you never saw anything like it before, and you didn't see anything for a long time afterwards like it. And then Moxley drug Paige through the broken glass, and now the ring was trashed, and they couldn't work it. Well, they did work in it anyway, because they take bumps in broken glass. There was a pile driver on the glass. Paige then clearly helped climb up the turnbuckles so that Moxley could try to powerbomb him through chairs, but Paige blocked it. Moxley raked some barbed wire over Paige's back, and then Moxley turned his back and waited for Paige to set the chairs up so that he could powerbomb Moxley onto him. And then Wheeler Useless came in and just nailed Paige with a chair, but Paige didn't sell it and knocked Wheeler out. And then Marina Shafir interfered. So Paige gave her a Death Valley driver off the apron through the table. Did you see that particular movement, Brian?
Well, of course I did. That was a big part of the match.
Did you see what Paige did to take care of himself and not her?
What did he do?
The Death Valley driver, he turns her, he jumps off the apron. He landed on the table and broke it and got his fall cushion, but he put her just past the table. So her momentum was still going, and she took the move right on the floor. Fucking idiot. And again, these are women, you stupid fucks. In storyline, it's ridiculous, and it's not fucking proper in real life. Anyway, so then they took some more bumps in the glass until Claudio got in and beat up Paige, and then Wheeler beat up Paige. Jim Ross's line there was, I know it's no DQ, but use some logic. Then they pulled out another table, but Osprey came out and beat up Claudio and Wheeler, but Gabe Kidd stopped Osprey and gave him a pile driver on the floor, and then they got a chair and they put the chair around his neck and Pillmanized Osprey's neck on the floor with the chair. And I'm like, so what the fuck? They've crippled their top babyface now. They just carried Samoa Joe out the same way, and then all came to a halt. There's a bunch of these morons wandering around the ring, just standing there staring. These two idiots in the match are bleeding all over themselves, just laying around. The doctors have to come over and attend to Osprey and get the stretcher. And then Moxley and Paige start their match again. They do a suplex off the apron through two tables covered in barbed wire. While on the other side of the ring, Osprey's getting taped to the backboard and wheeled off in a goddamn ambulance, or not the wheeled off on the stretcher. But then there's nothing happening again. And now Osprey is taken out. The other heels are all standing around on the floor. Moxley and Paige get back in the ring and they trade forearms. And then Moxley gets a Gotch pile driver on him and a choke on him, and then let it go and jumped up so that the referee could do a 10 count. And of course, at 9, Paige jumped up to his feet. So then Moxley gave him a double arm DDT finish on the barbed wire chair. And the referee got to 9.5. Now they've gone so long, Paige's gig had already dried up. So then Moxley asked for a plastic bag, and Useless got in and handed it to him, and everybody just wandered around. And as he's got the plastic bag, suddenly, Brian, have I exaggerated anything so far? Just so the people know it's not just me.
No, not yet. No.
Well, on the screen, it was Darby Allin from the mountaintop. I'm on the Canaanites. A video he took on Mount Everest. Say, I'm coming to get you. And then, while they're looking at the Darby on the screen, looked like he was near death on his fucking mountain, this stupid moron climbed on a billionaire's goddamn paycheck. Bryan Danielson jumps in the ring with a mask on and fucking gives the big knee to Wheeler and pulls the mask off and does the yes, yes, yes. And then Danielson kicked the shit out of the heel Stooges all over ringside. But while everybody was watching that, they started lowering Darby from the ceiling. And they got a shot of it and the announcers called it. But this was before the fans were seeing it because they're still watching Danielson chase these other son of a bitches out of there. And then Darby is down on the ground now, and Moxley stares at him, and Page hit Moxley with the buckshot. And Darby gave a coffin drop off the top rope to all the heels on the floor, and they all fought off. And you'll think, well, here's the perfect time for the finish. Page hits another buckshot. And then he gives him a dead eye off the apron through a table to the floor. Got to be the finish. Referee counts. Adam Page back in at 3. At 9, Schaefer goes around, hooks Moxley, picks him up. He stood up when she put her hands on him. And she yelled, "Fuck you" at Page. It goes on. Because now the Hardley boys are in the ring. And they double super kick and double shitty knee lift Adam Page. And that leaves him a sitting duck for when Moxley and Schaefer pull out the bed of nails. And Dave, if you defend this bullshit like you always do with, well, I don't like it, but it works for this audience, fuck you, pal. You're as bad as a maggot trying to defend Trump. You just won't admit the fucking truth. Your boys have shit the bed. This has gone too far. This is a complete train wreck of a presentation. I don't care if they sell 100,000 tickets a day. This is a bad show that gets worse. Deal with it. So then Page crawled over to the bed of nails and got in position and stood or kneeled stock still so that Moxley could curb stomp him on the bed of nails, then hit him with another double arm DDT on the bed of nails, and Page got up at 9.5. Then Moxley said fuck a lot and told Schaefer to get the briefcase, and she went over to the ringside table and got it, but when she turned around, she realized that she was handcuffed to the railing, and from behind the table and barricade, Prince Nana stood up and revealed that he had handcuffed her. And she couldn't get loose. And that's when Swerve came down and leveled the buckaroos with a logging chain and tossed the chain into Page. So the Page, he hit him with the chain. He looked like he was trying to put it around his neck and do the finish, but I think Moxley said, no, you got to hit me with a buckshot first so I can bump on a bed of nails. So they fought around for a minute that, and finally buckshot, he takes a bump on a bed of nails. And then he wrapped the chain around Moxley's neck and threw him over the top rope and hung him, and Moxley tapped out. And the fans were overjoyed that they were rid of Dick the Boozer, who was the only one on the roster who can make it look preferable that Adam Page would be the world champion. And then Page struggled to get the briefcase open and finally started crying. We were all crying at this point. And pulled the belt out, and there it was.
Yeah, big pop from the fans, and I think that's what it was. They were hoping that's it. No more of this Moxley Death Rider shit.
I mean, what? Not even the fact that it's a bad fake show, and it's stupid, and it's silly, and it's preposterous, the levels and the overdone stunts that they go through. Why can't they realize they're just shooting themselves in the foot? Because they just have to do more and more. And I'm pretty sure they can't do more and more. They may think they can. They'll find out. But if people are just watching this to see goddamn injury and chaos. You want worked chaos without injury. You don't want endless chaos with people fucking themselves up. And this is what these marks have done to this company, this presentation, and themselves. 7 hours. Endless. Over and over. I've made my point.
Well, a major success for AEW, All In Texas. A big walk-up, 30,000, give or take, in the building.
Well, no, the walk-up wasn't 30,000.
No, not a 30,000
The whole crowd was, yeah.
That's right. But a lot of moments to make the fans feel happy, like maybe the company's listening to us. We'll see where they go from here, maybe.
I wish they'd make me happy to thinking they were listening to me once in a while.
Moxley has worked so hard over the last year, I really think he deserves a long vacation. As do
you
the
know,
rest
you
of
got
the
a
Death
point
Riders.
there.
Yeah, they've been on every show. They deserve an extended timeout in Bulgaria. They deserve a long timeout, but that was AEW.
I think maybe he needs some good, long, inpatient psychiatric counseling.
Well, we'll see if he gets it, but that was AEW All In Texas. And Jim, as we said at the top of the show, not a normal drive-through. No questions this week, no classic wrestling, no songs. We're going to wrap it up rather quickly. Any closing thoughts on any of all this?
Well, yes, my closing thoughts are I hate to beat a dead horse, but this is, it's not good for the business. Not only the amateur hour that AEW produces, but the WWE making 3-hour programs out of a guy eating cereal for the breakfast in the morning. At some point, people are going to say, well, fuck, I just don't want to see any more of this shit at all. That's what I'm afraid of.
Well, with that, the drive-thru is closed. I may have to get this tuned.
That wasn't really a door slamming type of exclamation point moment.
Well,
good God.
All right. Good God will return on the experience in a few days. And of course, next week, right back here on the drive-thru, some great programming coming up. Stay tuned. If you like classic wrestling, you're going to like what you hear. The official YouTube channel, go to YouTube, search for Jim Cornette, full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections, and of course, our t-shirts available on the YouTube channel, on every video, on the shop app, or at ArcadianVanguard.com. Patreon.com/Cornette, $5 a month gets you access to the archive going back to 2013. Patreon.com/Cornette. Cornette's collectibles at JimCornette.com. What's going on, Jim?
I already told you.
At JimCornette.com. Of course, the drive-thru, this here drive-thru, is brought to you by the law office of Stephen P. New, 877-50-STEVE. Get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. The usual song returns next week with us. But until then, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!